Hey, stay tuned for a debate night live stream live. You can use the hashtag Crowder Debate Night. We have a promo code, drinking game rules to follow. But number 2 here, Gerald Morgan, CEO, sat down just a little bit earlier today with Vivek Ramaswamy, you know his name, to discuss his thoughts and predictions on the debate. So 10 minutes, and then we go live. But enjoy this interview with America's favorite Indian.
Look, the field is definitely narrowing, and I know that we've covered a number of topics already in the debate so far. What topics are you focusing on and kind of preparing for tonight's debate?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's every topic matters, but right now there's a few things that are going on in the world. One is the Republicans got trounced again.
Yeah.
Interestingly, every election since, 2018, 2020, 2022, now 2023, which was actually a pretty meaningful election. In my home state, I was very disappointed with the results.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't even close in Ohio on issue number 1 in particular, that Republicans or the conservative or pro-life cause should have had an alternative that was on the ballot. It wasn't. So I am in a pretty disgusted place with the Republican establishment right now. And that's the same establishment that's looking to lead us to World War III. I mean, it's Dick Cheney 2.0 trying to run the Republican Party, except this time they lose elections consistently. And, I'm very worried that the same establishment that has failed the conservative movement here at home in a sort of domestic war that they fail to recognize that we're in. I do think it's a war between those who love this country and those who hate this country at home. Failing to recognize that are instead making up foreign wars to go fight that don't advance the American interest, most notably in Ukraine, but we can talk about that more broadly too. And so I'm coming from a place of, I think deep frustration, but how are we going to channel that to solutions? That's my job, not just tonight, but as the next president, if we're elected.
Absolutely. And I know that you have to be prepared for any topic, any question, any time of day, It seems like your entire life right now is answering these questions and being prepared. Yeah. But I think if anybody's looking to kind of read the tea leaves, the international questions, the kind of geopolitical questions seem like they would make the most sense tonight. Is that the sense that you and your team are getting as well?
I mean, yeah, I think that's the vibe. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think there should probably be some introspection in the GOP about why the hell we're repeatedly failing, why we as a country have lost our own identity at home, why there's the self-loathing we see on display, most recently on college campuses, but you see the self-loathing on display in this country. So I think there should be some discussion of the cultural rot and cancer at the heart of this country. But yes, right now, more than ever, we're at risk of potentially entering major conflict in a way that we haven't for a very long time in this country. And I do think that's also where we have the deepest divisions within the Republican Party. And the cultural issues, we each have different perspectives on how we'd address it. I think that, I'm biased when I say this, but I think somebody who has a deeper understanding of what's going on is going to be better positioned to address it. But those are nuances. But on the international matters, we have deep differences on what we should be doing. There are other people in this party who believe we should be writing tens of billions and then hundreds of billions of dollars more checks to places like Ukraine. I solidly disagree with that. I think it does not advance the American interest. I would go so far as to say it's now hurting the American interest and increasing the risk of major conflict. It's not just the money. Some people think we're $34 trillion in national debt, and that still means we should be giving aid packages willy-nilly to people whose national debt per capita is less than ours. I disagree with that. So those are real, ideological divisions within the GOP. So it would make sense to me if we smoked some of that out tonight. Last night, actually, we held a rally in Miami. It was the Stop World War III rally, and we rolled out my No to Neocon pledge, which is basically 3 simple things I'm going to ask anybody who's a political appointee in my administration to commit to, that they acknowledge that avoiding World War III is a vital national interest, that the job of every U.S. policymaker is exclusively to U.S. citizens here at home, and that war should never be a preference, only a necessity. So that's not controversial, but at the same time, it runs directly counter to the neocon worldview that's dominated our party for much of the last several decades. And so, that we made a little website for it, no-to-neocons.com, and people can see the pledge. And we want to get as many conservatives across this country to sign up to those basic commitments that I think every person in our movement should make. But that's different than with some of the other people on that debate stage, some of whom stand to make money from going to war, personally make money from going to war.
Yeah.
I think we'll represent.
Are you going to actively call for the other candidates tonight to sign that pledge, or be willing to at least commit to it tonight?
I think so. I mean, I publicly called for that. So I think in the debate stage, I think I want to be a little bit more fluid and not, not scripted. I think, I mean, to go through, it was my first time going through a political campaign like this, right? So you go through different iterations, you learn. In retrospect, I was trying to wear, I would say, a team player hat a little bit.
Yeah.
To say, all right, maybe we can, unite around certain common themes in that second debate. It just wasn't used. I mean, second, for so many reasons, wasn't useful, but I wasn't really particularly useful. I would say.
Well, you weren't yourself. We talked about it when you were here at the studio for the Ash Wednesday that we did, and I said I was yelling at the monitor. I was just like, "Oh, come on, this isn't you."
And I was thinking about. I mean, you gotta. I wouldn't say cut me any slack at all because I'm a candidate. But I'm telling you, as a first timer going through this, you experiment with different modes and mentalities and headspaces. And today, I'll tell you what my day looked like before the debate stage. I went for a jog this morning. Then we went for jet skiing, swam in the ocean a little bit. We were in the pool before. I'm going to go back to the pool. I'm going to have a meal with my family, and then we'll come back to the place where we're going to have the debate. And I just want to kind of keep it. So maybe I'll mention the No to Neocon pledge if that feels like it's not particularly those three commitments. Great. People have the website afterwards. We're running this campaign, the No to Neocon pledge, through December 7th. That's the date that the U.S. entered World War II.
Right.
To have as many that as December 7th this year to say that we will make it a priority to keep us out of World War III. But whether that comes up on the debate stage or not, we'll see. I'm going to be pretty fluid tonight. I am, I'll tell you right now, I mean, we're a few hours before the debate. I am at you're catching me at an irritated moment at the Republican establishment broadly. It's a cancer. I think that it needs to be cured if the country is going to be cured. And there needs accountability for, the failures of this party. And I think that in many cases, it behaves a lot like the Democratic Party, except like a less competent version of it at times. Mm-hmm. And so, I think that those are some of the themes on my mind. And I think that the risk of World War III and our entering it, potentially major conflict soon, sleepwalking our way into it, is a risk that both parties, I think, bear responsibility for. And I think I'm going to be the only non-neocon on that stage tonight calling for the U.S. to do something other than intervening in foreign conflicts and instead focus more on protecting our own homeland and our own borders, which we're badly failing to do here at home. And then, the response I'm sure will be, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. You're doing neither, is the answer that I have to anybody who comes with that response. And so there's some people on that stage who ideologically believe it. Others who, and this is ugly, but it's an ugly truth, just like the Biden crime family, stand to make money off of selling off our foreign policy. That's happening in the Republican Party as it is in the Democratic Party. And so that deserves to be called out as well. And so I hope we'll get, I don't know if we'll get that on the debate stage tonight or it'll be in the subsequent months of this campaign. But if we're hitting on related topics, you can expect me to be pretty unrestrained and bringing some of that up.
Well, look, I think that's what people like. That's what people like about President Trump. They like that he really doesn't hold back. You know exactly what he thinks, it seems, most of the time, whether you like it or not. And I think that's what people liked about you, right? That you're very fluid. In that second debate, you talked about, strategy shifting just a little bit. And, one thing that you did, you kind of leaned over to me as you were leaving and said, I think you're going to like what you see in the third debate when you were, after the state. I'm hoping that it's that low grade or even mild to severe irritation is
genteel. Good. I'm just done with the genteel norms.
Right.
It doesn't. As I said, I'm a candidate. Go through different stages. I'm a human being. We experimented.
Right.
I experimented. With different modes. I've never led the free world before. I've led companies before, but thinking about the different ways. In some ways, one of the pieces of advice I actually gave to a young person recently is just view everything as an experiment, right? I mean, life is an experiment. So you are able to learn the most that way. And I think this campaign in some ways has been, I'll try to follow my own advice. And I think the experiment that worked best is me being unrestrained and, unattached to a specific, political goal. but to say that my whole strategy is speak the truth, and if that's what the people of this country want in their next president, that's what they're going to get in me. And if not, then go for somebody else.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think you have to just be who you are.
I'm totally at peace with that.
Yeah.
You're not the chosen one, Gerald. You're terrible. And you're gay. I'm the chosen one. You see, I'm the one who created MugClub. Everyone knows that it's growing. No thanks to you, Gerald.
Of course, this is all for you. It's your mug. It's your club. It's your mug club. I'm behind the scenes guy. I'm just trying to help you out, and I'm not gay.
I did what our detractors didn't think was possible, and I did it all while having my name smeared through those filthy rags with which you wrap your rotten fish. And you know what? Do you know what? I made a deal with Rumble, and I delivered them hundreds of thousands of mugs, day one. And now it's our vision, my vision, not Gerald's vision, and we're leading the charge. And you know what else I did? You know what else I did? I took the good people of Rumble out to dinner, and I did it with your salary on your dime. I paid it cash in hand. It was delicious. I had the veal.
Why would you do that? That's a baby cow. Why?
You'd let it grow up and give it false hope.
Why are you doing this? Oh God!
Stop your gay nonsense. You're just the afterbirth,
No.
Gerald.
No.
It slithered out of your mother's filth.
No, why are you doing this?
They should have put your face on a YouTube plaque when they shot it at the range. 2 for 1. You think you're great. You think you're so great. But Gerald, where were you when I was bringing on Nick DiPaolo? Where were you? I brought on Brian Callen. And the best bit of news, Alex Jones.
No, he can't be guy. You couldn't have gotten
I
him. No.
did, he can, and he was. Newest addition to the network. No thanks to you. No thanks to you and your gay face.
Why? I'm not gay. I've been married for years. You know this.
Gay! Gay! Gerald Morgan is what you are. You glorified pool boy. So sorry, so gay. Hey, if you have a mug club, okay, you have a mug club. There it is. Hold it up. Yeah, there it is. You have a mug club. And I have a mug club. And I have a straw. Okay. There it is. See the straw? Now watch it. See the straw? And my straw reaches across the room, and it starts to drink your mug club. I drink your mug club. I drink it up.
Wait, what the hell does that even mean?
I'm finished.
Remember, none of this is possible without you. Join the fight and sign up for Mug Club today at louderwithkreider.com/mugclub for $89 annually. Join forced equally.
I'm not trying to be a provocateur. I'm just trying to get a real answer because they never give a real answer.
You'll see the authorities, people who are supposed to look out for you, instead they're running interference for them. 23 years, it's a little more severe than being let out with a $50 bail.
We will never surrender our sources. We will never compromise on the truth. And our pursuit of those who live in the shadows of evil will never, ever stop. Our eyes and ears are everywhere. We are many. We are among you. We are MugClub Undercover.
This is a disaster. Hey, glad to be with you. I have a pinched nerve in my neck, so you'll notice everything has been moved over because I was having to pull a Trump with the cup of water and move my hand with my other hand. So, and I just spilled a bunch of water kicking it over. Glad to be with you.
Working with a stroke victim.
That's like the Jerry Lewis telethon. I'm one of the kids.
Yeah.
No, but they,
Used to.
He's alive in your hearts, just like these debate streams. These are always fun, and by that I mean they're not. But we make them fun as best we can. Right now, you can use the hashtag Crowder Debate Stream, or is it Crowder Debate Night? Sorry, Crowder Debate Night. We have a drinking game that you can play along with tonight. Bring up the drinking game rules. All right, you drink, and you'll hear this. Anytime someone says, "I stand with Israel or Ukraine," anytime Chris Christie acts tough.
Oh, Lord.
Anytime someone says that they can, but Trump can't win a general election. Anytime there's an Indian catfight between Vivek and Haley, or at least a portion of her.
No, she was Indian.
Anytime a candidate mentions their home state, and you have to finish your drink. Anytime someone says Biden isn't running, or if the Nashville Manifesto is mentioned, which I don't think it will be.
I have some.
You have maybe Vivek will.
Vivek,
Vivek, I'm sorry.
Cake like cake.
And we're going to get into our predictions, what happened last night with the election. But before that, look, there's still the promo code undercover right now. If you go and join MugClub, louderwithcrowder.com/MugClub, because of what happened this week with the Nashville Manifesto. And I want to clarify a few things. There have been some rumors out there. Look, no source was paid for this story, and our source is still safe, has not been relieved of duty or fired. Just to be clear, those rumors have been circulating. There have been 7 officers allegedly relieved or on administrative leave
for an
in the Metro Nashville Police.
Yep.
Our source is fine.
Not one of them.
Could be penniless because we didn't pay them, but fine. We will go to jail to protect our sources. So
where people
you guys
get
can
these rumors.
Well, I just don't want, when people go out and they report irresponsibly, it can intimidate whistleblowers into silence. And we have whistleblowers at the highest levels of government right now.
Right.
So continue to send in your tips at lwctips@protonmail.com. My question to you, as well as what do you think the topics will be tonight? We think it's going to be foreign policy.
Yeah.
And what do you think is an important topic that should be but won't be discussed tonight? All right. I'm thinking, is there anything else I need to mention? Oh, Alex Jones will be here for the postgame.
Yeah. Post-debate wrap-up with Alex
We
Jones.
debated having him in this chair, but
really?
it's like you have to have you have to MC this where you have to stretch it or shorten it. And Alex is always a headlining act. We're like, I love that Vivek put it that way because if I can just for a minute, just discuss this for a minute. It's like, you mean 10 minutes and
2
no, you
hours
can't.
later. Yeah, exactly.
Because he's brilliant. He's brilliant, but he's sometimes a solo act. He's perfect for the wrap-up where he will catch.
He gets a second win at 9 o'clock in the evening,
I know.
he said. So
I know.
I'm like,
He
oh,
does.
boy, that's going to be right around the time
He gets that win right after he comes out of the men's room.
Well, I tell you what,
Always picks up his speed, and I don't know what's going on in there.
There's no cleaner place to go than Buc-ee's, so the man does know how to pick his restrooms wisely. And even though he's dead, George Michael will live in our hearts forever. Number 2 in command, CEO Gerald Morgan. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm sorry your neck. This is we were going through run through to mock up everything and make sure we were ready to go. And you're like, I can't lift my arm.
No, I know.
Well, that's going to be tough.
And it's a pinched nerve. And I know our sponsor, CB Distillery.
Yeah.
Today, don't indict them because I literally have a ruptured disc in my neck and pinched a nerve. Like their stuff is great, but it won't. You did rub it on me, and
no
then
homo,
Nick.
No homo.
You rubbed it on me, and then Nick rubbed my neck.
No
but
homo.
it wasn't even a request.
Hold on a second.
Well, Nick just walked in.
Oh,
and was
the
like,
other
hold on,
Nick.
it's my turn.
He has strong Sicilian hands.
The other one, yeah.
It's 2 Nicks here. You mean the heavy?
Al Gore would be so lucky to have a masseuse as handsy as
Oh, for the love
Nick.
of my
And his the love of my sister. Oh boy, G. Willikers.
Oh, for the love of Pete, I was going to say. It's for the love of Pete, right?
I know. Well, Pete
man
gets
of
a lot
cloth. That's a.
It was
all right.
Pete, yeah.
We all kill Pete with kindness. So you can watch. Do we have his intro music? I guess. Do we have it? Yeah, his show on MugClub. You get it Monday through Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern. The funniest comic alive, the funniest man alive. He is the guy who everyone in the industry says that's the guy. Nick DiPaolo, how are you, sir?
I'm traumatic. Could you play my theme a little lower? Jesus Christ, would you hide me?
He just because you can't hear because you don't have headphones on.
Yeah, it was louder in my ears.
It's a good point. Yeah. Anyways,
who is right now? Let's bring this up right now. Is this?
that's Romney's.
Is that? I was going to say she looks almost like she's more Botox than human.
Yeah, that's the person who got their butt kicked last night because they didn't have great strategy across the country.
Well, what do you expect when you assign it to walking botulism?
Okay, the Republican president.
So here, what are your predictions, really quickly? And Gerald, you tell me what we want to get to. Again, it's Crowder debate night.
Yep.
The drinking games are going to be going on all night, and we have some. What?
Well, so really quickly, we will be going to Donald Trump's speech, his rally in Hialeah.
That's right.
That's just down the road. I think it's 10 minutes away. I don't know if he's actually on stage right now speaking, but just so you know,
He is not.
We'll be going to it when he does. So we'll be kind of cutting back and forth. And also, if there are like epic mic drop moments from Donald Trump, which there typically are, then we'll have those. We'll clip those. We'll bring them in. You don't have to go anywhere to watch anything else. We'll have both for you tonight. We'll have some wrap ups. So what has happened since the last debate as well.
Yep.
And then, our predictions, obviously, which we're talking about right now. I think foreign policy, because of everything that's happened, the world is a very different place than it was when they had the last debate. And you can't walk into the White House in 2024 and, technically in 2025. You can't walk in and get anywhere without understanding what's going on in the world and having a good plan for keeping the United States out of a broad war, right?
Yeah.
World War III or whatever other conflict.
They prefer
we could
Dane
get
War,
into.
but yes.
So you've got to be really sharp on this. And so I think right now we're going to see a contrast between people who want to keep us out of war and do it reasonably, not like an isolationist. And you'll see some people who are a little bit more hawkish.
So Vivek versus pretty much everybody on the stage.
Yes, exactly.
They'll be saying he has no experience. He'll be saying you all want to go to war.
He was a little pissed too when he was talking to me. He was like, I'm a little fired up about how badly we performed last night, and also what we are doing. We're sleepwalking into a war, and the Republicans are not doing a very good job of handling this.
What do you think there, Nick?
Well, it's going to be foreign policy because Dickhead has us on the brink of, and that's the strategy, not to get it to world, just get Dickhead out of there.
It's commander in that word.
Commander Dickhead.
Yes, commander.
And we do that not a week from now. We do it fucking tomorrow.
Yeah. We'll also allow Dickhead in chief.
There you go.
Dickhead in chief.
Yeah, we'll go with either of the above. We just have to respect the office.
And I think they'll be talking about too many flags in the NFL.
Yeah, you know. Is it Breast Cancer Awareness Month?
Oh, my God.
Everyone be wearing pink?
No, honestly.
Yeah.
But anyways.
No.
And Vivek, again, that was my boy, but I think it was Jimmy Brewer who sent me a text a couple months ago saying, you better do homework on your boy. I think it was Brewer. I'm not sure. There was no name on but it was Long Island. I don't know.
Did he write out?
No. But he said, and there was a clip of Vivek using like 5 phrases that Obama used when he was running for president. It did make me scratch my head. But
don't worry
Well,
about that.
Brewer is very mistrusting, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing to have someone like that who questions
everybody but his
everything.
dealer.
Yeah. They're a trained SEAL.
Pretty good.
All right. So
How the hell?
that sounds about right. I don't know. I need something for my neck.
How about a hatchet?
Oh, don't talk about Nikki Haley that way. Now, It's a wound. Now let's go. Actually, this is a good time someone help me. Let's get out of this and recap what happened since the last debate. I believe we have a montage of kind of what happened politically since the last debate. Yes. And then after that, we have what's happened with Donald Trump since the last debate, since he looms over these people that's what they should call him, the shadow.
And Donald Trump continuing to lead overwhelmingly here. Notably, DeSantis, who's been running in second all year, now joined by Nikki Haley in second place.
Governor Ron DeSantis getting a lot of bad campaign news this week. Not only is he losing out on endorsements, he's getting bad poll numbers. He's also taking heat for his footwear.
For you to wear, okay, I shop at Ferragamo, okay, and
I don't accept gifts. I can't accept it.
I mean, let's face it, Donald Trump is political and electoral poison down ballot. What a shock. You're for Trump. I'm going to fall over dead. Your arguments are so great. And mine
stick a butter in your aorta. Tell me
just
shit.
Quiet.
This guy reviles Republican voters.
I fucking hate this guy.
Will set you free.
What do we cut to Waffle House?
Isn't it time for people like Tim Scott to drop out? Aren't they just wasting time
Who said
at
that?
this point?
Yeah, you want to tell him that?
I think I just did.
Hallelujah.
Are we doing Tyler Perry
And now you're
quotes?
hearing this story
what was that about?
Do we fund Israel or do we fund Ukraine?
No.
Don't get involved in that.
She's a child, and this is the tantrum of a child. Ignorant, cocksure, bloodthirsty.
I came here to say it's become clear to me.
Really?
This is not my time.
Oh my God!
It'll be your time when you're 90.
That poor bastard.
You haven't been forgotten.
So that happened, right? We had the debates. We had a lot going on. I feel like I know this person right here on NBC.
Who,
but I
that
don't
woman?
want that reporter, but I don't want to speak out of turn because I think I know that person.
I know who she is. I swear to God.
She's familiar, right?
Yeah, she served us at the IHOP last time I was
true.
here.
That is, and she wouldn't give me the blueberry syrup. I don't want the current berry
her.
syrup. I want the blueberry syrup. Let's go to Donald Trump, what he has done, right, since the last debate.
This is what we have. It's a scam. It's a sham. Just so you know, my financial statements are phenomenal.
Federal Judge Tanya Chutkan left the bench, came back, ruled that Mr. Trump cannot make or repost statements attacking the special counsel, Jack Smith, his staff, or family, or Judge Chutkan's staff.
This is not my time.
I chose him, made him vice president, but people in politics can be very disloyal. I've never seen anything like it. A vote for President Trump is a vote to secure the border, and it's a vote to keep radical Islamic terrorists the hell out of our country. Or find his way off a stage. He can't find his way off a stage. The poll numbers are terrible. We show what happened today. The New York Times and CBS came out with a poll that I'm leading all over the place. Because it's a scam. And this is a case that should have never been brought.
A new CBS News poll shows that 34% of Republican primary voters say the legal challenges he faces make them think better of him.
Yeah, and by the way, we're going to go back to those polls because they have to change the polls to try and make it seem like there's any silver lining for Joe Biden right now. I want to, before we do that, kind of give you a recap from last night. Now, look, this is something, people are really irresponsible out there where you have a lot of GOP voters who think that everything is rigged, so why go out and vote? A lot of people stayed home. Now, a lot of people are applying that to a national election, but they really don't add up. As a matter of fact, the recent polls from New York Times are surprising as it relates to a national election. Let me kind of give you a recap of what happened last night. And you guys can comment below, hit the like button because it helps with the algorithm. A lot of the elections that were held yesterday, they didn't go as well as people were hoping for. I believe, do we have a brief, let's go to clip election day. But there's some context here that is missing a little bit, and there are some wins that the media doesn't want you to know about.
Well, Election Day 2023 results are in, and Democrats scored big in some key races. Notable wins include Ohio, which voted to enshrine abortion rights at the state level, Virginia, where Democrats will now control both the state and Senate and House of Delegates, and in Kentucky, where Democratic Governor Andy Beshear was reelected to a second term. President Biden weighed in on the victory, saying, quote, Americans once again voted to protect their fundamental freedoms and democracy won.
He weighed in with his frail bird bones. President. Let me give you the bad. Okay, so the bad, obviously, you know what happened in Ohio with the abortion protection. Okay, you know that the Kentucky governor, obviously Democrat, was elected there. You probably know that they won, like she just said, both houses of the Virginia state legislature. Here's something else that's pretty interesting. In Pennsylvania, votes were being flipped due to a coding error.
Oops.
In a judge's race.
No, hold on. Now that can't possibly be that voting machines could be compromised.
Could be just not good. Hey, before we get into the idea that Chavez is rigging, they just may not be all that good. Go and watch Kill Chain on HBO where they hacked it in the governor race. But here's something that you may not know is, the abortion, when people talk about it, they say, oh, so it must be a losing issue, period. Conservatives were outspent 2-1. What happens is after Roe v. Wade was overturned, they didn't know what to do with it, and they don't have very clear messaging. Here's some wins, though, that people may not necessarily know about. The Virginia delegate candidate, who, by the way, who performed sex acts on Chatterbait, lost, so that's a good thing. I think, that's overlay F5 there, Matt. I know I'm bouncing all around. Republicans gained a seat in the New York City Council in the Bronx.
There you go.
AOC's from there.
Yeah.
And then the GOP now controls all of Long Island. So, hey, think about it. That means the GOP, they're probably gaining with the Jew vote.
That's where I was headed. You beat me to it.
Sorry.
No, I'm saying I
should have laid it up for you.
Look
No. We don't do that shit.
They did well with the schnoz vote.
It's Italian and Jews.
Yes, exactly. It could be,
what kinds of people are these, Henry?
You do. You have a nice, strong Roman nose. You do. He has a nice, strong Roman nose.
I do. I have a Roman nose.
He has a Roman nose. My mom loves, that's what she says. She's like, you know what I like in a man? I like a strong Roman nose.
I like it roaming around my ass.
Really?
That's my mother.
You said your mother? I thought you said your brother. I'm sorry.
Okay. Don't let me laugh too hard. My neck hurts. It hurts. I can feel the bones oscillating. The Michigan House of Representatives, it's now evenly divided, right? So that's pretty good.
That's good.
You have, for Michigan, you take that as a win, considering that, the lady who runs that state, her stocking should roll up under a flying house. We have the GOP governor of Mississippi won versus the distant cousin of Elvis Presley, so that's good.
If you're excited about a Republican winning Mississippi, it's a fucking bad night.
I mean, it should happen.
Well, you never know.
They're still hanging people down there.
But this doesn't compute with what we're seeing with Donald Trump. So New York Times just had a new poll come out.
Yeah.
Very different than the national election. And this also comes down to the people running the GOP. They're not being galvanized. New York Times, in the general election, Donald Trump beats Joe Biden, just to be clear. I don't know if they have this is New York Times, 1.4% in a national election. That's within the margin of error.
Yeah.
Now, this time in the 2020 election, Biden was winning by 10% in the polls, meaning at this point in time, November, when you're looking at that point in the election cycle. 2016 election had Hillary winning by 2.2. So that is a huge swing.
Yeah.
Then Donald Trump is leading in swing states. Big time.
Big time. And we were surprised by this.
5 points
apples to apples
time.
Comparison. And by the way, just for everybody watching, we've got about a minute and 10 seconds until
Yes. Okay, so let me get this really quickly. Trump is leading Biden 5 in the critical swing states. Nevada, he's leading Biden, Donald Trump by 11%. We have them in 2019. Biden was up 3.6%. In Georgia, Trump's winning by 6%. In 2019, the RCP average had Biden up 4%. In Arizona, Donald Trump is up 5%. The same New York Times poll in 2019 had Biden up 3%. Michigan, Trump is up 5%. New York Times in 2019 had Biden up +1%. Pennsylvania, Donald Trump is +4%. New York Times had him in 2019 down by 1 to Biden. Then you have Wisconsin. Surprisingly, Biden is up 2, which surprised me compared to Michigan. But if you look at the New York Times, they had him up by 2 as well. So
same time at that in this point in 2019.
Yeah,
but
which surprises me considering Scott Walker and all of that. So
right.
This is also something. If you look at his polling with black people, he's bringing in 22% of the black vote right now, the most in any modern GOP history. Biden is only leading Donald Trump, according to the New York Times in recent polls, with people under the age of 30 by single digits, by 1%. He's only leading Donald Trump with Hispanics by 8%, single digits. This is something that we have never seen before, and that's the difference between a national election and someone who overcomes that enthusiasm gap. So we can get back to it, but do we want to watch the intro right now?
Yeah, let's watch the intro, let everybody get into the debate, and then I'll come back and tell you how those polls even got worse. They narrowed dramatically.
I'm not excited about any of what you just read.
It's going to be really, really good for Trump based on what we know. You should be excited about it because we're doing
Roman nose and another cup of liquor.
Considering the idiot in office and the shape this country's in, those should be twice that gap swing.
All right.
True. But anyways,
I
go ahead.
Didn't mean to spoil your whole day like that.
I don't believe any of those frickin' numbers.
Okay, but let's go to the intro now so we can be bored with that.
who's far ahead in the polls. The candidates are here. Florida
And they're
Governor
queer.
Ron DeSantis.
Get used to it.
UN
Get used to
Ambassador Nikki Haley. Entrepreneur
How is that housewife
Swami.
America's
New
favorite
Jersey
Indian.
Governor Chris Christie.
The token
and
fat
South
guy.
Carolina Senator
Fucking
The
race
token
love.
black guy.
From NBC News.
Him, Scott.
Cipher.
Nikki Haley. She's cute, but she's a bitch.
Live from the Adrian Arts Center in Miami, Florida.
Hold on, her cat fight with Vivek over who's more Indian. Do the cat sounds, and I'll give you a little.
Okay.
That's what it'll sound like.
And good evening, everyone.
All right, let's watch them introduce Lester Holt. What is that guy?
How was NBC involved in this after that headline yesterday with a dead Jewish
I'm
guy?
Kristen Welker, moderator of NBC's Meet the Press.
Hello, I'm Hugh Hewitt, host
Hello.
of
Hello,
Radio's
Hugh
The
Hewitt.
Hugh Hewitt Show. We are now just 68 days from the Iowa caucuses when Republican primary
We'll vote
voters
for Donald
will begin
Trump.
to determine their party's nominee for
I don't
president.
trust this guy.
Tonight, we'll question 5 candidates seeking
Why is
that
that, Nick?
nomination
Because
on
he
how
works
they're
for
best
NBC.
prepared to be commander-in-chief. And, of course, how
Lester
best to
Holt
bring down
looks like a
crises
cartoon of Lester Holt.
Americans
Yeah, he
across
does.
the
Does,
country. We have
He used to
2
be a
hours
Republican,
for
they
a
said.
serious debate on the issues that matter most to Republican voters.
How would you
Candidates will have
know?
1 minute and 30 seconds for answers and the opportunity for a closing
Again, use
statement.
the hashtag
Follow
Crowder
us.
debate. Or sorry, it's Crowder GOP debate is
Yeah,
what it says?
Crowder GOP.
Did they just change it? I had Crowder debate night. You sons of bitches. You
guys
hung me
are
out to dry.
terrific.
The promo code undercover. If you want to see more of what we do
That's
with the
still
Nashville
the same.
Manifesto, that's still the same. You get $10
Tim,
off
wake up.
to join MugClub. Hey, it's Indian Jimmy
What are they all
Neutron.
looking down at?
Can't hear you. And given the critical issues we're facing,
He just looked like he was trying to do like a- like-
Why isn't she making sandwiches like she was supposed
He
to?
looked like he was doing an Al Pacino face, Ron DeSantis. He was sitting like,
may result in loss of additional questions. And to our audience,
I don't like
please,
Nikki
please
Haley
hold
'cause
your
I like
applause
big
so
ass
the candidates
heads.
can be heard.
thank
With
you,
that
Ron
said,
DeSantis.
let's have a good debate. All right, our first question,
Oh,
the
define
opening
good.
question
Yeah.
is one for all of you.
Okay.
Not a
Donald
great
Trump
one.
is the
No,
first
turn it
black
up. Can you
president
turn it
in
up a
more
little
than
bit?
100 years to run for the White House again. And he remains popular among Republican primary voters as his legal
To say the
challenges mount. Governor DeSantis, let me begin with you on this one. Speak to Republican voters who are supporting Donald Trump. Why should you and not him be the Republican nominee to face Joe Biden?
Did they
a year
add
from now?
frown lines?
I know.
This country is in trouble, and the elites that have put us here, they don't care about you. They don't care that you're having to grapple with
I know,
higher
Trump
grocery
told me that.
prices or have higher gas prices. They don't care that your family's less secure because of the open border that's allowed drugs and even terrorists to come into this country. Well, I care. I am not going to sit idly by and let this country continue its downward spiral. We need leadership, and we need it now. I'll take the hits, I'll take the arrows, I'll take the slings, because ultimately it's not about me. It's about you. I will fight for you. I will make sure to lead this country's revival,
He's
and
reading
I will
Trump's
win
script.
for you and your family. Actions speak louder than words. We don't have time for
Right now, your
excuses.
your
It's
tie is
not
speaking pretty
something
loudly.
we're
That thing
gonna
is
be able to
vibrating
have
like
all
crazy.
these
You didn't answer the
distractions.
question.
As a veteran,
I was about to
will
say.
get the job
I
done.
like him, but this is
Now,
an
if you
opening
look where
statement.
we are now, it's
That's
a lot
right.
different than where we were in 2016.
Answer the question,
And Donald Trump's a
greaseball.
lot different guy than he was in 2016. He owes it to you to be on this stage
No, he
and
doesn't.
explain why he should get another chance. He should explain why he didn't have Mexico pay for the border wall. He should explain why he racked up so much debt. He should explain why he didn't drain the swamp. And he said Republicans were going to get tired of winning. Well, we saw last night.
This is the
I'm
first
sick of
time we've seen
Republicans
DeSantis come out
losing.
on this level of attack to Donald Trump. He had a meeting with some people. They said, you're not doing very well. This is your last shot. You really need to make your mark. I don't think that this is well advised.
Miami-Dade County. That's how we have to do it. So I promise you this, as the nominee, next November I'll get the job done, and as president, I will deliver
Your time
for
is
you.
up. Let me turn to Ambassador.
Oh, Hulk asked him. Right? But he had, yeah, I know.
Let me
He's
turn
got
to
all the slings in
Ambassador
him.
Haley. Why you and not the former president?
Well, I think you look at the fact that we're almost
That's a
$34
drink
trillion in debt. 60% of Americans
Nikki,
are
we're
living
out of
paycheck
mustard.
to
You have to
paycheck.
drink, sorry.
50% of
Yeah.
American
Like the whole
families
question
can't
is-
afford diapers. 1 in 6
Including the
American
president.
families can't pay their utility bills. You have parents who are worried
This is all
about
another
what's being
ploy from
said
Big
or taught
Depends.
to their child in the classroom. There's no transparency. We have anti-Semitism all over our college campuses, and students
Transparency,
feel
like when you look at
unsafe.
yourself in a mirror.
You've got an open border where terrorists can come through, and and we've got
Someone said,
wars
let's give her the
happening all over us,
photo
and
negative
there are
Dracula
dangers
collar
around
tonight.
us.
What is
Yeah,
she?
something. Nikki, you're out of coffee.
President Trump. Well, I can talk about President Trump. I can tell you that I think he was the right president at the right time.
Nikki,
I don't think
trying to
he's the
speak
right
here,
president
Nikki.
now. I think that he put us $8 trillion in debt, and our kids are never going to forgive us for that.
Nikki, men are
I
speaking
think
here.
the fact that he used to be right on Ukraine and foreign issues, now he's getting weak in the knees and trying to be friendly again. I think that we've got to go back to the fact that
Nikki,
we can't
the
live
ironing
in the
board's
past.
right behind
We
you.
can't live in other headlines. We've got to start focusing on what's going to make America strong and proud. And that's what I'm
Do you mean
focused
like
on
the
doing.
greatest economy modern America has ever seen? This is the problem with attacking Trump. I get that Trump, they say, okay, lost an election, and we can get into how that happened and the chicanery afoot. But let's talk about the fact that it was the greatest economy that we have seen in modern American history, that the public sector jobs were actually, for the first time in our life, Donald Trump shrunk them by
shrunk the size of
3,000 compared.
government?
We'll have these numbers side by side with Joe Biden because they're trying to tout his latest jobs report, which they have to inflate up. How about the fact that there were no major new wars? This is the fundamental problem. You guys can comment below and let me know if you disagree. In attacking Donald Trump, when people, not even Republicans, you're looking at right now the approval among black Americans, Hispanics, people under 30, they know they don't have a leg to stand on if they say the economy is better off right now under Biden or that we are better off with our international relationships under Biden. They know it's not true. So attacking Trump just is ill-advised. I want to see what Johnny Quest's sidekick here has to
I think there's something deeper going on in the Republican Party here, and I am upset about what happened last night.
Deep Blue V.
We've become a party of losers at the end of the day. It was a cancer to the Republican establishment. Let's speak the truth. I mean, since Ronna McDaniel took over as chairwoman of the RNC in 2017, we have lost 2018, 2020, 2022, no red wave that never came. We got trounced last night in 2023. And I think that we have to have accountability in our party. For that matter, Ron, if you want to come on stage tonight, you want to look the GOP voters in the eye and tell them you resign, I will yield my time to you. And frankly, look, the people that are cheering for losing in the Republican Party.
This is a race to the negative.
Love it.
DeSantis is like, the country sucks, this president sucks, everything sucks, and he's like, we're all losers. I've never seen this.
More people into our party. Getting the Democrats, and we've got Christian Walker here.
Shining city on a hill? Screw the shining city on a hill. We suck! We suck!
But how do you lose? I know those are local races and a lot of shit. How do you lose?
Well, I don't know.
When the condition, the Dems have had the White House for 4 years.
I know.
The country, the conditions. How do you lose at any level?
It's the spending, and of course the GOP is. But I do want to hear the rest of Vivek.
Talking about Radio Shack.
Answer the question. Go.
Mr. Roberts.
This is how we get our country back.
Wait, what did he say? Answer the question. Can someone send us from Mission Control? We were having too much fun. I'm
They
sorry.
rigged the 2016 election. They rigged the 2020 election with the Hunter Biden laptop story.
Boom!
And they're going to rig this election.
Your time is up.
Oh, yeah, your time. Shut up,
Governor
Lester.
Christie, why are you?
That's a mic drop moment if I've ever heard one, but I'm not finishing my drink.
Pissed when we interviewed him, and
Look, he's
hold on. Let's see what he said.
Killing.
The candidate speak. Governor Christie, why
Oh, I thought he was
you
going to call him on the
and not
election
former
stuff.
That looks like a.
Well, Lester, look, you said it at the beginning of the debate. We are dealing with extraordinarily important issues facing this country right now.
Like
we
a
have
shortage
our
of
greatest
tubas.
ally in the Middle East under fire from
Your
a terrorist
cholesterol.
group that has committed to wiping them and every Jewish person in this world off the map. We have Ukraine with Vladimir Putin, a communist KGB dictator.
How boring.
Oh,
who wants to
drink.
put
I
the old
stand
man
with
back
Ukraine and
together.
Israel.
Yeah. How boring
He's
is he
starting in
compared to
Ukraine,
Vivek
and
coming
he's
out
gonna move
fighting?
To the Baltics
He's my
and
boy.
Poland after that. We
Pumping
have
him.
inflation in this country that is choking.
Well, if
choking
your
every
belt-
American
choking
family
every last
that
That's the only
wants to try
inflation
to
I see.
rise up.
I'm up to the last loop.
give their
I have to
children
use
a better life.
I have to use a bobby pin to make a new one.
We need to
He
decide
won the governor's trophy in the
which
fucking Macy's days.
want to tackle the big issues. Who's gonna make this
70,000
country
roses
look
to make his
once
ass.
again, not just inward, but look outward at the world and say America is the country, the indispensable nation that makes this a safer world. And in a safer world, American innovation, American hard work has always been the thing that has driven our country to greater things. I'm going to be the president.
I'll make the world
who will
safer.
do
Wish you
those
could say the
big
same for the
things.
local
We're not
buffet.
gonna be small, and I'm
How is
saying
he
this about
still
Donald
around?
Trump.
I mean, he's round.
Who's going to be spending
mean in
the
the
next
race
year
or
and a half of their
alive?
lives
Both.
focusing on keeping themselves out
I
of jail
don't
and
understand.
cannot leave this
Big Mike,
party
there's
or
a
this
good
country.
example. You wonder, how does the GOP lose? The leadership. He's still in because enough people with money are saying Chris Christie should still be in.
Yeah.
Anyone out there a Chris Christie fan? I've never met you. I performed to thousands of people around the country. I've never met a Chris Christie fan. I do want to hear Tim Scott because I do like him. He's like Black Tiny
Let's
Tim.
hear from E.T.
We need a president and a candidate who will actually help our base solidify and attract independent voters into our party. The Great Opportunity Party is now winning back African American voters and Hispanic voters because we are working on a foundation based on faith. Our nation is facing some deep challenges. It is the loss of faith in this nation that is part of the erosion that we're seeing every single day. It's restoring faith, restoring our Christian values that will help this nation once again become the city on the hill. When Ronald Reagan talked about the city on the hill, he was coming from Matthew 5. When President Lincoln talked about a house divided, that was Mark. Our founding documents speak to the importance
Now, this
of
may
a
work.
faith
He is
foundation.
separating himself with more of a positive messaging. It may work, but what?
When Clinton talked about the Shining Hill, he's coming from room 211. Good night, everybody.
That would be the president that helps us restore faith in God.
There's room for him.
Faith in each other.
In the
Yeah, there is, absolutely.
Without that focus,
I like Tim Scott.
Me
none
too.
of the issues, the policies matter. We have to get back to being a nation that is, in fact, the city on the hill that believes in each other.
Right now it's Silent
enough
Hill.
for us to
Senator
fight
Scott,
for that future.
Senator Scott, thank you. We're going to turn now to the
Senator Scott, the American people are bored.
We just lost half our audience.
Coalition, and then from Kristen and Hugh.
And Senator Scott, I don't know how this is, but I, Lester Holt, am blacker than you. Next question, too. I want to hear the question. Sorry.
Israeli troops are fighting inside Gaza City with over 200 hostages who remain captive there, and civilian casualties mount
I appreciate
inside
that he
Gaza.
included the hostages still
As
being
President of
captive.
the
That's a key bit of information a lot of people overlook.
Israeli Prime Minister
I think
Benjamin
that- oh, you don't wanna
Netanyahu
hear what
to
I-
do at this moment. Governor DeSantis.
I would be telling Bibi, finish
stop
the
it.
job once and for all with these butchers.
Amen.
Hamas.
Yep.
They're terrorists.
Amen, brother man.
They're massacring innocent people. They would wipe every Jew off the globe if they could. He cannot live with that threat.
Why is it with the Jews?
right by
100% agreed.
his-
They always say wiping. Like they never, like they're not eradication, extermination. They always use the wiping term. It's got Jews out there. Doesn't that irritate you? Like they always like wipe them off. Like say something else. Like they would kill all the Jews. I just don't. They always say wipe Jews. You know, it's like exterminate the Armenians. You know, Hotel Rwanda was a massacre. It's like wipe the Jews. What's with the wiping of the Jews?
I don't know.
Okay, sorry.
Neglect has been atrocious. We had Floridians that were over there after the attack. He left them stranded. They couldn't get flights out. So I scrambled resources in Florida. I sent planes over to Israel, and I brought back over 700 people to safety.
And they were complaining about the drinks not being fucking.
Brought back 700 people, and they were fucking with the thermostats the entire.
There's too much ice in this. I told you no ice. It waters down the scotch.
Florida.
The bathrooms are filthy already.
Deeds,
You went-
we acted, and
It
we
was.
saved lives.
Thank you. Ambassador Haley, what would you do?
It was like a flight from Disney World.
Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu to do? Would you consider
Oh, she thinks this is her
humanitarian
shot.
powers,
She's
for
never met a war
Yeah.
she didn't like.
The first thing I said to him when it happened was I said, finish them. Finish
Oh,
them.
I
And the
quoted
reason
Mortal
is
Kombat.
I worked on this.
She was
every
talking
day
about the sandwiches she made.
And we have to remember that they have to, one, eliminate Hamas, two, support Israel with whatever they need whenever they need it, and three, make sure we bring our hostages home. We need to be very clear-eyed to know there would be no Hamas without Iran.
Take
There
off
would
your
be
top.
no Hezbollah without Iran. There would not be the Houthis without Iran. And there wouldn't be the Iranian militias in Syria and Iraq that are trying to hit our military men and women if it hadn't been for Iran. And who is funding Iran right now? China
Obama.
is buying oil from Iran. Russia is getting drones and missiles from Iran. And there is an unholy alliance. We need to be clear-eyed. The last thing we need to do is to tell Israel what to do. The
I think
only
Vivek's
thing we
going to
should
go
be doing.
a different direction.
I think Vivek's going to go a different direction, but
Similar, but-
but he will clarify that he's not an isolationist.
Correct.
He's been hit enough for that. But
Yeah.
Nikki Haley is saying exactly what you thought she was going to say. If I were
that.
arguing with her, I would call her out on the number. What's the number of dollars and how many American soldiers? Because then she loses.
Specifics, yes.
Any daylight between you and the candidates we just heard in this issue?
Yeah.
On what you would tell the Prime Minister?
Here we go.
Not in terms of what I would tell the Prime Minister, no. In fact, I would go one step further. The founding vision of Israel was based on the idea that they don't want to depend on anybody else's sympathy or direction in defending themselves. So what I would tell Bibi is that Israel has the right and the responsibility to defend itself. I would tell him to smoke those terrorists on his southern border, and then I'll tell him as President of the United States, I'll be smoking the terrorists on our southern border. That's his responsibility.
Cheech and Chong just got a new slogan for their cruise shoes.
I want to be careful
Smoke
to
the
avoid
terrorists.
making the mistakes from the neocon establishment of the past. Corrupt politicians in both parties spent trillions, killed millions, made billions for themselves in places like Iraq and Afghanistan, fighting wars that sent thousands of our sons and daughters, people my age, to die in wars that did not advance anyone's interests, adding $7 trillion to our national debt. And Joe Biden sold off our foreign policy. Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, got a $5 million bribe from Ukraine. That's why we're sending $200 billion back to that same country. The fact of the matter is the Republican Party is not that much better. You have the likes of Nikki Haley, who stepped down from her time at the UN, bankrupt or in debt.
Indian
was her
catfight
family.
drink.
Then she becomes a military contractor. She joins the board of Boeing and ototherwise, and is now a multimillionaire. So I think that that's wrong when Republicans do it or Democrats do it.
No, she bored Boeing
Do you want
with a PowerPoint.
Is she on a board?
First, or do you want Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels?
All right,
In which
Mr.
case
Ross.
we've got two of them on stage.
Yes, Senator
Drink.
Simpson.
She is Dick Cheney in heels, though.
That would get her elected.
No.
Today.
Dick Cheney in heels, I think, was going after Ron DeSantis, was sort of.
That
Because
would
he
get-
wears heels too. Sorry. I mean, it's
that
different.
would get her
It's-
elected if she was a guy in.
Yeah.
Hey, these were BOGO, buddy. These boots were BOGO.
Fine, you're frugal.
We'll be there with you. We'll stand shoulder to shoulder. There will be no daylight. But I'll change the station a little
No
bit.
daylight unless they adjust the white balance on your shot.
America. I would say to President Biden, diplomacy only is a weak strategy. Appeasement leads to war. From President Obama to President Biden, Obama sent millions to Iran. Frankly, President Biden has sent billions to Iran. That is why I've said that there's blood dripping from the hands
One
of
thing that
President
I'm noticing we're not seeing tonight is specifics. Can we bring up, we did this in a previous show, the amount of money that we are giving to the nations collectively who want to wipe Israel off the face of the map? We not only have Iran, we also give money to Hamas. When you talk about, I believe we have in there Libya, Yemen, Jordan. So bring those up so we can add many billions more to Israel.
$7 to $10 billion to the countries around them. I think $3 billion.
I think 3 point something billion to Israel.
Yep.
So people should be specific with that because it's easy to get people to your side if they understand it. Hey, look, there is a less interventionist policy that would actually be a net gain for Israel. They're being very broad tonight. They're not being very specific, and that's kind of the nature of a lot of foreign policy debates, just to be clear, because it's ever changing, right? These are very, very temporary circumstances, so they don't want to be hung on it.
Yeah.
destroy it.
All right, Senator Scott, thank you.
Am I the only one sweating? Is it hot in here?
A little bit.
No, it's you.
feel hot in here.
Pastor, these problems are so big and serious that the first thing I would say to Prime Minister Netanyahu is pretty simple. America is here, no matter what it is you need at any time, to preserve the state of Israel. Remember that Hamas's main goal is to get rid of Israel, is to get Israel absolutely off the map. Now, there are three things I think I would say to him when he asked for advice. The first I would say is that it is absolutely your obligation to protect the territorial integrity of Israel. Secondly, to make sure you protect the
I don't know what happened when I showed up.
every time
Because it's
something
all right to
happens
be an
that
asshole.
compromises either one of those things, it creates greater unrest in the entire region. Second, you must go in and make sure that Hamas can never do this again. The fact is that Israel and their intelligence community failed. They failed here, and they failed the people of the state of Israel. And so we need to work closely and better together to make sure, one, that they're degraded, and two, that we know everything that's going on inside the Gaza Strip when it's going on, so that something like this can't happen to kill 1,400 individuals again. And
Well,
the
they
third
wouldn't
thing
have
is to
failed
keep
if
your
our country was feeding Iran all this money.
Exactly.
that we continue to
Chubby.
isolate Iran, work with the reasonable nations in the Middle East, the other Arab nations who want to partner with you,
and make sure that we continue to
That is
isolate
exactly
Iran.
what is, and I understand the idea of the enemy of my enemy is my friend, or the friend of my friend is my friend, or whatever it is that Chris Christie wants to say. But look, these people, the hills like white Christies. The thing is, that was a short story, the hills like white apples, but a literary reference. The thing is with Chris Christie, he's talking about what we've done for a very long time. Let's buddy up with these other nations who will then turn on us. Hey, how about we say, we're done with this part of the world. We're not going to be your enemies, but we're not going to be giving you money. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Saudi Arabia. I don't care if it's Egypt, because they'll be friendly at one point in time and then add 5 years and they're the next asshole superpower. So he is doing what has been done for a very, very long time. That is the GOP establishment when people refer to foreign policy. That's the problem. You can let me know if you disagree. Nikki Haley's saying something likely bitchy. Oh, she got a cheer. What'd she say?
She just said, I look good in heels.
Say is, I wear heels. They're not for a fashion statement. They're for ammunition. What we need to be doing
what are you hiding?
Ammunition.
What are you hiding? 50 cals in your 5-inch heels?
men and women could be targeted.
Boy, everybody's got their dander up tonight.
Almost 100 hits to happen.
They have so
Under
much
Biden's
dander up, they
watch
need
is
Selsun Blue. Hey, I can tell you.
Talk about dander.
And we shouldn't be doing the tit for tat like what Joe Biden has done.
Watch your mouth, whore.
And take out their infrastructure that they are using to
Watch
make
your
those
language,
strikes
Nikki.
with, so they can never do it again. Iran responds to strength.
Let's be honest, you couldn't go
punch
tit for
them-
tat anyway. So
Punch them hard, and they will back off. But what we don't need is
Have you ever been in a fight?
to get back in the Iran
Nope.
deal. Him giving $6 billion to get 5 hostages home. Him telling Netanyahu now that he needs a pause or a ceasefire. We don't need him going and sitting there tiptoeing around
Speaking of
Iran
pause, how old is
because
she?
he thinks they're going to do something. You don't respond to an enemy and a terrorist with fear. You respond with strength. When you do that, that's when the world pays attention, and that's when Iran stops.
Thank you. Governor DeSantis, if I can continue with you. Just today, the U.S. launched another one of its limited airstrikes against targets in Syria, this time Iranian-linked facility. How far would you go militarily to hold Iran accountable?
Well, first, Matt, thanks for your question, and I appreciate what you've done over the last month. I know it's been very difficult for the community, and appreciate you guys rallying together in difficult times.
I love you.
I actually served in Iraq back in the day, and we had Al-Qaeda in Iraq. You had Shia militias that were funded by Iran that were killing hundreds and hundreds of U.S. troops. And as commander-in-chief, I am not going to put our troops in harm's way unless you're willing to defend them with everything you have. Biden has them out there. They're sitting ducks. He's doing glancing blows. That's just inviting more attacks.
This is a good answer, though, as far as putting it in an either or. Either you go all in to win a war or you don't. I think that's a fair position to hold.
I agree. And he's a military guy.
Yeah.
So he
You are
has some
going
credibility.
to have hell to pay. We are not just
Again,
going to sit there.
we all like Ron DeSantis as a governor. He comes across like a little bit of a wiener.
Yeah, but why is he 7th overall in the latest? Why is he? I don't understand, man.
I mean, it's how to screw up an election for dummies.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Governor. Now our second and final question from Matthew Brooks of the Republican Jewish Coalition. Please watch.
Jewish students across the country are threatened and under attack. What do you say to Jewish students on college campuses who
Can I
feel
cheat off you?
unsafe given the dramatic rise in anti-Semitism? And what do you say to university presidents and college presidents who have not met the moral clarity moment to forcefully condemn
This is going to be
Hamas
difficult. Make sure you answer that you protect free speech on campus, and it needs to reach the level of criminality, right? Because people have the right to be assholes and support Palestine. This is something they're going to try and trip you up. They're trying to catch you with an inconsistency.
It's sad to see, but here's what history teaches us. Anti-Semitism is a symptom of a deeper cancer in a country and a society that is lost, and we are lost. Several years ago when I wrote my first book, Woke Inc., I was talking about they were chanting death to America, death to white people, death to Christians. Nobody was waking up back then. Now it's even bad. Now they're saying death to Israel and worse. So it is wrong, but we have to get to the root cause here. Now, I think it's really important that we do this through leadership, not censorship. Leadership means fill that void with purpose and meaning. Dilute this wokeism and anti-Semitism to irrelevance. These kids, they have no idea what the heck they're even talking about when they're siding with Hamas over Israel. They are fools. But I also want to caution here, if we go the direction of Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley, with whom I respectfully disagree on this issue, pro-censorship, telling student groups to disband, mark my words, Soon they will say if you question a vaccine and its side effects, you're a bioterrorist. Soon they will say that if you show up at a school
I don't
board
know
meeting,
that I could have framed a better answer. This is a very good answer to this question, in my opinion. Comment if you disagree.
insurrectionist, terrorist. So that's where this road ends. We don't quash this with censorship because that creates a worse underbelly. We quell it through leadership by calling it out.
I'm very curious to see the response. So just everyone, I want to hear their response because they have an indefensible position.
Of America that restores our founding values and that has no place for this kind of anti-Semitic hate. That's where I stand while respecting our Constitution.
Your time is out. Senator Scott, let me get you to weigh in on what you deserve.
What a horrible moderator. He just called out DeSantis and Nikki Haley, and he's like, okay, great, let's go to Tim Scott.
America. Federal funding is a privilege, not a right. Number one. Number two, to every student who've come to our country on a visa to a college campus, your visa is a privilege, not a right. Number three, any campus.
So you rip down a poster and you send them back to their country?
1, 2, 3.
To allow students to
right now, Rick Perry's going, Jesus, he can do it.
Mass murder and genocide, you should lose your federal funding today, period. To all the students on visas who are encouraging Jewish genocide, I would deport you from those campuses. We have to stand strong.
It's a good, but it sounds good, but it's tough to actually enforce because a lot of them are saying we don't support genocide. We're saying that we're against genocide because we're against Israel. Whereas at least Vivek's was very, very clear. It was concrete. He made sure to couch it in anti-Semitism has no place. He supported Israel morally. We sat here and we talked to him about it, but he said, look, we can't go the route of censorship. It has to reach the level of criminality. Just people say I hate Jews on campus. Hey, if they want to deal with their dean or student activities coordinator, fine. If you're actually calling for violence, boom, you're gone. This is an answer that isn't really an answer from Tim Scott, and I know that some people won't like that. Of course, we've been very consistent in our support of Israel, but I do not like the idea of, and you know what
I like
else?
free speech better than I like.
Not only do I like free speech, it actually helps the argument when people see the dumbasses out there supporting Hamas with Palestinian flags.
You look at them and you're like, oh, these guys are idiots. But if you say I stand with Palestine, which we don't, you shouldn't be deported.
But the problem is the left controls the media. They're in all the institutions.
I want to hear
they
DeSantis.
outshout us.
He was attacked.
Common cause with Hamas. I'm canceling your visa and I'm sending you home. No questions asked.
Where are you going?
Second.
Oh, well, just call him. Hey, someone. Nick needs a refill on his drink.
Who their kids do not feel safe even going to university campus at all outside of the state of Florida. You have Jewish students.
That's because you imported all the Jews again.
At Cooper Union. Joe Biden should have the Department of Justice on these college campuses and holding the universities accountable for civil rights violations. When you should not have money going to these places. I already acted in Florida. We had a group, Students for Justice of Palestine.
Yes, I was an understudy at the local showing of Cats.
I was going to say.
This is what we are. We deactivated
I landed the lead in the mouse that roared.
dollars to fund jihad. No way. And what is Biden doing? Not only is he not helping the Jewish students who are being persecuted, he is launching an initiative to combat so-called Islamophobia. No, it's the anti-Semitism that's spiraling out of control. That is what we have to confront. And as president, I can tell you this, we are not going to stand for this on college campuses any longer.
All right, Governor, thank you. Let me turn to Governor Christie, and considering what he just said, you led a state with a sizable Muslim population.
Sizable. Christie.
As you know, a 6-year-old Palestinian-American boy.
I'm a child.
I prefer jumbo.
Landlord, his mother was also stabbed more than a dozen times in what has been charged as a hate crime. What do you say to Muslim Americans who are also feeling afraid for their safety right now?
Oh, shut the
Lester, I'm the only one on the stage who's actually had experience in dealing with this. I was appointed by President Bush to be the U.S. Attorney in New Jersey on September 10th, 2001. And when I took over that job after the September 11th
So
attacks,
it's your fault.
I had to deal with a situation in our state that was explosive. We're the most ethnically diverse
Enough
state
about diarrhea.
in this country. And so first, we heard credible reports
All right, guys, we do have to hear the
Jewish students and synagogues being threatened in our state in the aftermath of 9/11. We made sure that we sent federal agents to those synagogues and we protected them, and the same thing should be being done now. At the very same time, I personally went from mosque to mosque in New Jersey.
I went from a size 14 to 19.
With the leaders of those mosques and with the members of the mosques. And I said to them, law enforcement is on your side to protect you, regardless of your religion.
if you are going to comply with the law. And we developed fabulous relationships with Muslim Americans all across the state of New Jersey, and we stopped any hate crimes that were going on either against Jewish Americans in New Jersey or Muslim Americans in New Jersey. It takes leadership, Lester, to know how to do this. You must work with both sides. Both sides need to know it, but let us never have a false moral equivalence between Hamas and Hezbollah and the Jewish people. The Jewish people stand for right and justice, and Hamas and Hezbollah stand for death.
Governor Christie, thank you.
You sit for all of it.
What do you say to Americans?
Yeah, it's definitely a tough guy moment. Drink, guys.
In this
Bring back up the drinking game rules for people who haven't seen them yet.
You look at the country, and the country is all out of sorts. I think, look at what these kids are dealing with
menopause.
on college campuses. What makes me so angry is not only do you have the kids barricaded in the library, they've said they were going to shoot up the kosher dining hall. You've got kids' dorm rooms who are being set on fire because they have something related to Israel on their doors. No person should ever feel in danger like this. And this is what I would say about our college presidents, is if the KKK were doing this, every college president would be up in arms. This is no different. You should treat it exactly the same. Anti-Semitism is just as awful as racism, and we've got to make sure they're protected. And for everybody that's protesting on these college campuses in favor of Hamas, let me remind you something. Hamas said death to Israel and death to America. They hate and would kill you too. And the idea that they're talking about...
I get it, you're right, but you're not answering the question. We're talking about campus here. We're talking about...
It's not us. We're better than that. We don't need to celebrate terrorists. We don't need to celebrate genocide. We don't need to celebrate violence towards anybody.
Apparently you don't celebrate Labor Day with that white outfit.
And remember what we are about. And we are about taking care of people.
Pants? Pantsuit applies.
That's just no white after Labor Day.
Terrorist activity says they
I'd like
want
to
to
see
just...
somebody hit her with a glass of cranberry juice.
Lester, thank
Right
you.
in the
This
chest,
is
a
another
full
question
bottle of
for the
fucking
entire
Grand Grape.
So you will all get a chance to respond. But Senator Scott, I'd like to start with you.
Nice teeth.
Lester, meet the press host. Your turn.
That's all right.
By the way, we have a 7+1 later, 7+1 things the GOP candidates are doing after this debate. And we do have our on-the-ground correspondent, Thomas Finnegan, at the debate tonight.
We'll hope.
We will check in with him, I hope.
United States. And Americans would be forced to, quote, send your sons and daughters to defend NATO countries. Senator Scott, where do you stand on more funding for Ukraine?
I certainly have been very supportive of Ukraine. I believe that ultimately we should make sure that the President of the United States states what is America's national vital interest in Ukraine. It is actually in degrading the Russian military. We've been very effective using our resources and our
You can make that argument for any war then.
You can make that argument for any war, and the Russian military degraded themselves.
And they're sitting on a stockpile that could blow the world. That's degrade the military all you want.
Of the Russian military, and that's good news. But the American people are frustrated that they do not have a president who reminds us and tells us, where's the accountability? Where are those dollars? How are those dollars being spent?
Hold on. Nobody's asking for receipts, Tim. Everybody's saying we're sending too much money overseas to a war that does not impact us while we have problems here at home. And we're not gearing up for some of the problems that could happen. I don't know, in Israel, that was something that probably could pop off at any second. Or maybe China and Taiwan. Yeah. That's the problem. Nobody's saying, hey, are they spending those on M16s or not? Why are you even bringing that up?
So that we show the world that we are 100% undeniably standing shoulder to shoulder with Israel. And then as we turn away from that direct support for Israel,
case, hip to hip,
we should go to our southern border and close our southern border with the resources necessary. I believe that we have sleeper terrorist cells in America. Thousands of people.
Well, you must be a detective there, Tim.
Syria and Iraq. If we are
I just
going
got
to
a ride
deal
from
with
one
the
about 20 minutes ago here.
At our
Goes
border,
to sleep in Chris Christie's fupa.
Hey, Tim Scott, how many border walls worth of money have we sent to Ukraine so far?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm starting to price things in border walls, so just help me out.
$20 billion. By the way, we can bring up $20 billion for a border wall. The most generous estimate was $30 billion ever. It really cost likely $18 billion. And how much have we committed now to Ukraine? It's over $100 million
right now.
Is it over $100 billion? Sorry, is it $110 billion or is it $8? It's over $100 billion.
Like five-ish border walls?
Five border walls.
Not only that, the military's been degraded 10 times since Biden got office, and now we got another war to hate. So
I know. It's like he spat in their mouth.
Yes.
Our NATO partners safe from the Russian military is absolutely essential. As you understand, Article 5 would require to support and to defend NATO, our troops on the ground.
Ukraine's not a NATO country. And by the way, look, Putin's an asshole, right? Putin bad, just like Hitler bad, just to be clear. However, one of the promises was that Ukraine would never become a NATO country.
Right.
So for you to act as though there is no reason that he, and not any reason that you believe in, that he can sell to his people as a reason for continuing a war does not do you any favors. Ukraine is not a NATO country. We pay into NATO more than any other nation. We always have. Other people don't foot their own bill. And it was promised to Russia that Ukraine would never be a NATO country. If you're not addressing that, you're not addressing the root issue, and it's going to be a never-ending war, which is probably great for the boards that Nikki Haley's on. Let me hear Vivek. Sorry.
Cautious as they should. Level with the American people here. Ukraine is not a paragon of democracy. This is a country that has banned 11 opposition parties. It has consolidated all media into one state TV media arm. That's not democratic. It has threatened not to hold elections this year unless the U.S. forks over more money. That is not democratic. It has celebrated a Nazi in its ranks, the comedian in cargo pants, a man called Zelensky, doing it in their own ranks. That is not democratic. More facts for you that you won't hear from the mainstream and either the mainstream media.
You guys having a great night.
The regions of Ukraine that are occupied by Russia right now.
They're all going to attack him as no foreign policy experience after this. Watch.
Doesn't matter.
Calling it.
Russian-speaking regions that have not even been part of Ukraine since 2014. That other people probably couldn't name those provinces for you. Those are the hard facts.
Manitoba?
And sort of frame this as some kind of battle between good versus evil. Don't buy it. And I'd like the likes of the sharpest of the war hawks on Ukraine, Nikki Haley, to have some accountability and answer. Do you want to use U.S. taxpayer money?
He's really going after Nikki Haley.
Yeah, he is.
Well, she's wide open in this conversation.
That's actually what's
Well,
happening.
that's how she got to
They're
office.
using
That's
the
true.
Ukrainian Orthodox Church. They have banned them. The Ukrainian Parliament just did this last week. Supported by our dollars. And I think you owe it to the American people, Nikki, to at least this one time.
Ramaswamy,
Drink, catfight with Nikki Haley and Vivek again.
Their banning of Christians.
Mr. Ramaswamy, thank you. We asked the questions. Ambassador.
Oh, you do?
We asked the questions.
No. I'm sorry. Your writers write the questions for you to ask your guests.
Okay, let's hear Nikki Haley.
And President Xi are salivating at the thought that someone like that could become president. They would love to see
fact of the matter is she doesn't.
Yeah, because I'm sure the whole Middle Eastern Arabic world would respect you as commander-in-chief.
Exactly.
Look at, they elect a woman.
The first thing I'll tell you is we all remember what
Yes,
that
you are
thumb did
president.
when he invaded Ukraine.
When the guy says...
Hold on. I do want to hear what stupid stuff she says.
Because of Putin.
But hold that thought.
And here is a freedom-loving, pro-American country that is fighting for its survival and its democracy. No, I don't think we should give them cash. I think we should give them the equipment and the ammunition to win. And I'll tell you, if Biden had done it when they first...
So like Fed, it's like USA Fed bucks. It's like Toys R Us in the 90s. I just want to give them Jeffrey dollars.
What the fuck is that?
Left them with a ton
Funny
of weapons
money.
and money.
How would you pay for the ammunition? And don't ask questions.
Funny money from the Gold Club in Atlanta.
Now everybody wants to move away from Ukraine. They'll want to move away from Israel a year from now. America can
Not
never
at all
be
the same thing.
Nope.
We don't
wrong.
need friends. After 9/11, we needed a lot of friends. Now is the time to get partnerships. This unholy alliance between Russia, Ukraine, and China is real. There is a reason the Taiwanese want us to support.
China, Russia has been pushed into the arms of China because of this. They were not allies before. They're getting friendlier because of our money to Ukraine. Now, you may agree that having a proxy war that's fought there is better than it impacting us globally. I understand that argument. I don't agree with it. Russia, China, very cold relationship. It's warmed up as a result of this. That is a fact. We called it when we discussed this over a year ago on the show, and here we are. Let's hear the token fat guy.
It bought us just a couple of years. And then 500,000 Americans
That's like you and your life expectancy.
to defeat Hitler. This is not a
Putin
choice.
is not Hitler.
This is the price we pay for being the leaders of the free world. And the fact is, this alliance is not just with Russia and China. Governor Haley knows this. Iran is in the middle of this as well, and so is North Korea. And they are all working to support Russia right now. And the reason they're doing it is because dictators work together.
The camera is orbiting
People who
around
believe
him.
in democracy work together. We must stand with all of those that are standing up for democracy and freedom in
He's
this
the
world.
sun.
And by the way, let's remind
We're all
everybody of this.
aging faster because of his gravity.
They got a guy on a unicycle with a handheld.
It's like M. Night Shyamalan's with The Island.
I need a Dramamine.
They invade you, we will protect you. An American promise that's 31 years old is no different than an American promise that's made tonight on this stage. We need to stand by it. And those of us who forget history are doomed to repeat it.
Take the Slim Fast challenge. Make that promise.
I'd like to respond.
And the absolute giving in to dictators, which is being suggested on this stage, just shows the immaturity of the approach.
I'd like to respond.
I told you, called it. They were going to attack his foreign policy experience. He gave a better answer than they did, regardless of experience. You know who else did? Donald Trump.
That's right.
Or if Putin is not stopped now.
Well, any suggestion by Zelensky or anyone else that we're going to eventually have U.S. troops there, I can tell the American people when I'm president that will not happen. We are not going to send your sons and daughters to Ukraine. I am going to send troops to our southern border. If you look at the threats that we face, terrorists have come in through our southern border.
Been waiting to hear that for years.
Shut it down. I'm going to have the military, and I'm going to deport the people who've come, particularly under Biden, who've come from the Middle East, come from all these places. Now, Biden wants $105 billion. 60, most of that's Ukraine, including some of it going to pay pensions for bureaucrats and salaries. That is a totally ridiculous use of American tax dollars. He says he has money for border to try to do, and the media repeat that. When you look at it, what most of the money is money to process more illegal aliens into this country. How is that solving the problem? That's making the problem worse. And what does he do for the Indo-Pacific? A pittance. That is the top threat that we face. We need to bring this war to an end. We need the Europeans to step up and do their fair share. And we need to get serious about the top threat that this country faces, which is the Chinese Communist Party.
He sounds a lot like Trump.
Sounds a lot like Trump, but you know what? It's a valid answer.
Absolutely.
I will take it. Vivek and DeSantis right now, Mr. Bogo Boots.
China, and I.
Oh, he is real.
Let's put a poll out there. Who do you guys? I would say.
I thought this guy was whack.
DeSantis and Vivek.
Beijing to hear you. Many Republicans believe that the Chinese Communist Party and General Secretary Xi is an existential threat to the United States. The flashpoint is Taiwan. For decades and decades, the American military, but primarily the United States Navy,
put the camera on Andy Warhol.
From China to the island state of Taiwan. But Ronald Reagan's Navy of 600 ships is gone. Now, the question to you is, and I'll start with you, Ambassador Haley, because
Chris
you were
Christie said
President
chips.
Trump's cabinet. His goal was a 355-ship Navy. That's what he pushed for. He got to 300. It's now at 291. Is that big enough to deter and, if necessary, defeat an invasion of Taiwan?
That's what she said.
China has the largest naval fleet in the world.
Nikki,
they have
you're a size queen. What do you got to say?
They'll have 400 ships in 2 years. We won't even have 350 ships in 2 decades. China has built up their military. It's not just land, air, and sea. They're doing cyber. They're doing artificial intelligence. They're doing space.
Yeah, but they're 5'2".
Mushrooms with German Shepherd.
We need to do everything we can. The first thing is you go and you make sure you have the back of you.
Maybe let's get Nick a fresh drink from out there. He just makeshifted it, like he MacGyvered his drink. I'm sure it's terrible.
To China. The second thing is we go to China and we start being tough on them. No more sales of our American soil to China, and let's take back what
that
they've
being said,
already
it would be
stolen.
hilarious to see her tower over Xi Jinping and just emasculate him.
True. Yeah.
There's something funny about a woman towering over.
You know, it'd be funny too if they cut to Chrissy right now. He had a napkin tucked in his head, eating a big fucking
He had a
meatball
lobster
hair.
bib.
Yeah, lobster. Got sauce in his hair.
And then we modernize our military. When we strengthen our military, when we modernize it with the focus
Nikki,
of
we're out of mayonnaise.
artificial intelligence and space, when we make sure that we have the backs of our friends, whether it's in Israel, whether it's in Ukraine, and we should be arming Taiwan. Make sure they have the equipment they need.
Okay, so
Make
this will
sure
be interesting to see if Vivek comes out and they ask him about Taiwan, because he gave a very good answer when we did an Ash Wednesday, where he said the level of defense that we have for Taiwan right now, which is basically sort of military ambiguity, that would be the lowest I would go. I would elevate it until we become, we achieve semiconductor chip independence, and then it would go back to where it is now. And that was misrepresented in the media. You may not agree with it, but I'm curious to see if he answers this.
To back up a strategy of denial of President Xi's ambitions. And if China is able to be the world's leading superpower, that will affect you and your family in ways that are going to be very bad. They will export authoritarianism all around the world as the cost of doing business. They will impose things like social credit scores and internet
Egg roll
monitoring.
prices through the roof.
This is, to this generation, what the Soviet Union was.
Nary a stray dog.
I've already released a plan. We're going to get to 355 ships at the end of the first term, 385 ships at the end of the second term.
Cut off the world supply of broccoli and chicken. What are they going to put?
20
years. I think the future of freedom is going to be determined in the Indo-Pacific. We have a strategy.
Everything will be dripping with MSG.
And fighting them here at home with their cultural. Ambassador Haley said somehow I wasn't doing. She welcomed them into South Carolina, gave them land near a military base, wrote the Chinese ambassador a love letter saying what a great friend they were. That was like their number one way to do economic development. In Florida, I banned China from buying land in this state, and we kicked out.
By the way, that's a take a drink. That's a mic drop moment because that is a great thing for this country. We give everyone a tough time because it's, we're children. I hope you appreciate it. We also fact check them. Any fact checks that need to come back in, we'll do them correctly.
But every time you ban China, less, masseuses for $6.
And he's mentioned his own state. We have to drink on that one too.
Oh, okay. I need to have mine refreshed.
I've been drinking constantly.
Well, two major problems with the question. Number one, we do not have currently a defense industrial bank to allow us to have the kind of production that we need in order to keep America safe. Frankly, if we are not prepared to fight and engage in 3 continents at the same time, think about where we are today. In the Middle East, we are in the midst of trying to back our strongest ally. In Eastern Europe, we've seen our resources and our weaponry help degrade the Russian military. The Indo-Pacific, we have real challenges. The long-term threat is China. Immediate threat is our southern border. In order for us to have the military to fight 3 different continents at the exact same time, we are going to have to invest heavily in our military, but we're also going to have to invest heavily in an industrial base so that we can hit our objectives from a military perspective, not only with our ships, but also with our planes. We are so old as a military that in order for us to recalibrate, we're going to have to invest. One of the things I do in my
Lester Holt right now to go.
Yeah, exactly. He's meandering.
New jobs by having high-tech manufacturing come back to America, decoupling from China, so that we focus our attention on creating that industrial revolution that
I like Tim Scott. He's not capable of answering a question. He's not presidential material.
Sorry.
Very nice guy.
Move on.
Time to step aside.
I think I heard somebody pass out and bang their head on the...
What
Chris Christie in the bathtub.
Where would you build it? When would they be in the water? How big would the fleet
Oh, I
get?
don't know.
First answer is end the toxic divest to
That's what I got
invest
from him.
program. For people who
Never
don't know
had that
about
voice
that,
before.
we're decommissioning ships in the South China Sea. The foundation of war is economics. Rebuild our defense industrial base at home. But here's the dirty little secret. Our actual defense industrial base depends on China for the supply chain, for the F-35 jets, for the ships that we're building. Think about this. Why are we stockpiling that if it isn't to actually be strong against our enemy, China? We depend on them for that, just like we depend on them for pharmaceuticals, just like we depend on them for semiconductors. So here's why we can't get tough with China. It's because we depend on them for our modern way of life, and we have to declare economic independence from our enemy. That's the Declaration of Independence that Thomas Jefferson, at the age of 33, would have signed. And today, if he were alive, that's the Declaration of Independence that I will sign as the next president.
White supremacist symbol.
I do have to recognize that Ron DeSantis was correct about acknowledging Nikki Haley's tough talk when she was ambassador to the UN, calling China our great friend, bringing the CCP to South Carolina. What he left out, though, Ron, and be honest about it, there was a lobbying-based exemption in that bill that allowed
Ron
Chinese
DeSantis changed his face. Someone said, give him the good, the bad, and the DeSantis face. I'm serious. He's changed his expression. They said you need to look more tough.
Politicians who are independent of the forces that increase our dependence on China. My message to Xi Jinping is this. You are done buying land in this country. You will not donate to universities in this country. U.S. businesses won't expand into the Chinese market until you play by the same set of rules.
Ramaswamy,
you're kicked out of the WTO.
Shut up, Holt.
And you
By the way, you know what? None of this tonight, this conversation about China takes place without Donald Trump. For decades, we were told in this country it was an inevitability. China is going to be the next great superpower. Donald Trump changed that. Look at these answers. If you don't appreciate anything else about Donald Trump, the fact that people now are able to acknowledge the threat that China presents is something we all have to agree on. I can't tell you how many relatives, friends I had in finance going, accept it. Everything's going to have to learn. You better start learning some Mandarin. Yeah, exactly.
Invest program.
Hugh, I'd like to
by 20%.
And I wasted all my time. I learned Cantonese.
You know, my first observation, Hugh, is that nobody answers your question. And my second observation is three in the middle think they're the enemy. I know China is the enemy, and that's what we should be focused on. So let's be really clear. The nuclear submarines in this United States Navy is the greatest deterrent. to Chinese aggression, and that is the first place I would go to increase American naval power. Our nuclear submarines are able to move stealthily, quietly, and effectively, and if we are going to deter China from invading Taiwan, the only way we're going to do it is to make sure that they
If
don't
you do
know.
a cannonball off of a carrier ship and create a tidal wave.
It's America in the South China Sea and in that area.
Tsunami!
He is a battleship.
To move on Taiwan. And so we, as our first priority,
Can't do a cannonball off a carrier ship.
our nuclear sub-program queue, and
Why
we
you
need
do,
to.
Chris Christie?
That would be priority number one. Ships would come next, but to me, the ships are secondary choice here. The submarines are the single most important thing that we could be deterring. That we could be
You're
using
talking
to
about
deter China.
Jersey subs.
China is to let them know that the blood money they're spending for Russia in Ukraine right now will not be effective.
Jersey,
Home with his tail between his legs and make them understand that the same fate waits for them if they decide to move towards Taiwan with a more aggressive nuclear fight over there. We'll be able to make that threat real.
Thank you, Governor. We're going to take a brief pause.
Really quickly here, so Chinese public opinion, kind of to your point, has actually turned very sharply towards the United States recently, right? So you're saying that they were going to be in favor of the Chinese public opinion.
Yeah.
We talk about the CCP and the Chinese people, two different things.
Yeah.
Chinese people, not so much a fan of their authoritarian government here, but this may be a good time for us to, they've taken a break here. We can maybe see if we can get in touch with Finnegan.
Yeah, check and see with our on-the-ground correspondent.
Yeah.
I know that we've sent him out there.
We'll see how this
And we
goes.
spare no expense. You can use the promo code undercover because we broke the Nashville Manifesto here this week, and we also have eyes on the ground everywhere. It's time to go to our on-the-ground correspondent, Thomas Finnegan. All right, Mr. Finnegan, this is the third debate. Pretty much know what to expect, but what do you have for us here today?
Hi, Stephen.
Hi, yeah.
I'm in my car outside the venue. I'm ready to go in, and I'll check back in with you later.
The GOP debate?
Yeah.
Tonight? In Miami. You're 100% sure tonight that you are in Miami at the right location.
Yes.
The right city. This is the first. I don't know what to say. I guess we'll check in with you. We'll check in with you.
And I also wanted to say that.
Okay, you know what? Let's check back in. I am positively shocked, but I'm glad we'll check back in with Finnegan on the ground. We can bring back up the drinking game rules really quickly. I'm going to have to go get some of this CB Distillery rub them. This is what's keeping me alive tonight and afloat. I have a pinched nerve, but this really has helped. CB Distillery, you can go. Is it the promo code? Is it Crowder?
Crowder for 20% off.
Crowder for 20% off. All the science, the research is there. It does help. Also, their oil is great. I just can't take it before the show because it makes me a little bit drowsy. Everything is lab tested, and they have the balls to sponsor this show. We're about to go to a commercial break. What, Gerald?
Well, so we're actually not going to go to a commercial break. We're going to go to Vivek. We have a little bit more about him talking about Nashville, and I think people are really going to want to see his opinion on the Nashville.
Is this from tonight?
So this is from my interview with him earlier today.
Okay, we're going to go to Vivek, and keep in the bottom, the lower third, of course, always keep the debate, so people know I will be right back.
You know what? Put
after
Trump up there.
Yeah,
Trump's
let's put Donald Trump up there. Just switch back and forth so people know we're covering all of it. It is the Crowder GOP debate. We will be back. I'm going to rub some of this on my neck and hopefully gain function back of my right hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
See you soon.
We actually made some news this week, and it's funny. A late night comedy show is breaking news around the country. I saw that you interacted with it, but we released the Nashville Shooters Manifesto, and I saw that you said something, and I actually quoted you on air because I had seen your tweet and said that we can handle the truth. Why?
Yes.
Go into just a little bit of detail. Why did you support the release of that manifesto?
Not only did I support the release of it, I went to Nashville in early August, because I heard the state legislature was convening the governor, Republican governor, by the way, was convening a special session of the legislature in late August to pass anti-gun measures in the state without having released that manifesto.
Yeah.
So that irritated the hell out of me. So I'm going to show up in Nashville. We held a sort of protest rally type event, and I called for its release because the reason people don't trust the government is that the government one of the reasons certainly is that the government doesn't trust the people with the truth, right? Trust is a two-way relationship. And so we lack total trust in our institutions, in part because those institutions do not trust the people who they're supposed to serve. So the idea is here a noble lie, that the people can't handle whatever's in there. In my view, is whether it's the origin of COVID, whether it's the Hunter Biden laptop story, whether it's the Trump-Russia collusion hoax, whether it's the basis for the 2008 bailouts, whether it's how many federal officials were in the field on January 6th, whether it's Saudi Arabia's involvement, or intelligence operatives' involvement in knowledge of 9/11, whatever it is, just tell us the truth. I mean, even the knowledge about, I know it's a sort of a gauche topic, but even UFOs, like what do we know? It's clear that the government has prioritized this topic at a far greater extent than it's public. So I just go straight down the list on any of those topics. Just tell us the truth. And we, the people, can handle it. And it's like the Jack Nicholson scene at the end of that movie, right? You can't handle the truth. Say, no, we can handle the truth. And my view is give it to us not just when it's easy, but when it's hard. So when I went to Nashville, it was something really interesting happened. The entire community there were people who came up and said, no, we've talked to the people who have seen it. And it's not what you think. I was like, how do you know what I think? All I'm saying is I want it seen. They're like, no, because you think it's a transgender shooter. It's not what you think. And there's stuff in there that would be very harmful, at least. So, I'm a thinking person. I like to think and wonder, okay, what do I know that I don't know? Can this be handled through redaction, right? That's typically how that's done. If there's like a manual for how to commit a future attack, right? I don't think that there's a public interest in seeing the how-to manual, but the question is the public at least knows that the police and everybody else has entrusted them to say, okay, these were the motives of the killer, and at least we know that. A tragedy happened in airplane crashes. You can recover the black box, no matter what it says. You deserve to see what's in there. What struck me, and I'm so grateful to you guys for recovering it and putting it out, is that the kind of stuff they insinuated to me that would be in there, why this couldn't be released, that wasn't in there at all. It was just political cover all the way down, which shows how rotten our institutional leaders really are. In this case, it's not just one institution. I mean, you got local police, you got the governor, you got the state government, you got the FBI, all in on this.
Yeah.
And it's pathetic. It's an indictment of where we are as a country. And so the same broad establishment spanning media to our own agencies, to our own federal police state, from January 6th to Hunter Biden laptop story, 50 CIA intelligence operatives claiming it was Russian intelligence or Russian disinformation, to the origin of COVID-19, to now the Nashville Transgender Shooter Manifesto. We need to restore a culture of truth.
Yeah.
In the United States of America. Give it to us, not just when it's easy, but when it's hard. And so anyway, I'm glad you guys did it. And this has been a big theme for me since earlier this year. And in some ways I was grateful. In some ways I was just upset when I saw it, because I was waiting for where was that vague, to be avoided topic that might hurt someone or create a clear and present danger for future violence. It wasn't in there.
No.
It was a lie.
Yeah, it was all a lie. And look, we know that there are more documents, there's more information that could be released. This is only a part of what was obtained by the police. But were you surprised at the response?
Could have released this.
Well, no, they could have very easily released this, given us some information. Were you surprised by the response immediately? Google started the search, had like a blacked out thing saying, hey, the data. All right, so look, we will get to the rest of that. We know the debate is back here. You'll have to wait just a minute to hear his answer to my question about if he was surprised by what happened to our coverage. But let's go back to the debate right now on Governor Ron DeSantis.
The parents, there are probably TikTok apps on half the phones in this auditorium.
Somebody else talking
I'm
now.
going to speak to the fact that two people hit me and you didn't let me respond. So let's first talk about the fact that they want to talk about the Chinese land from 10 years ago. Yes, I brought a fiberglass company 10 years ago to South Carolina.
Fiberglass.
You are the chair of your economic development agency that, as of last week, said Florida is the ideal place for Chinese businesses. Not only that, you have a company that is manufacturer of Chinese military
I actually like DeSantis to
planes.
smirk right now. He's like, this bitch.
2 training sites at 2 of your airports now.
Like an
one
abusive
which is
husband.
12
Yeah.
miles
Keep
away
it up,
from a
Alice.
naval
Yeah. He looks
base.
like a walking
Then you have
Lifetime
another
movie.
company that's expanding, and they were just invaded by the Department of Homeland Security. So mine was 10 years ago.
He's got the goods on her.
I didn't give him anything.
What's your story?
And I abolished
Here we
that
go.
agency that she's talking about.
No,
Enterprise Florida, we abolished it. And of course, we banned
He
China from
scrubbed
buying
the
land.
website
Not
last
exactly
week.
a
Go
great
check.
recruiting pitch if you're banning them from purchasing land
scrubbed
at
the
all.
website
So we've stood
last
up and
week.
we've done the right thing.
You know what? I'll take it. It's a catfight between DeSantis and Nikki Haley. So drink and DeSantis won.
How do you get TikTok banned if you use it?
Well, I want to laugh at why Nikki Haley didn't answer your question, which was about looking at families in the eye.
Catfight.
In the last
Into the
debate, she made
catfight.
fun
Bring
of
up
me
the drinking
for-
game rules really quickly while you keep them in the lower
Her
third.
own daughter was actually
Catfight
using
is
the
a
app
drink.
for a long time, so you might want to take care of your family first. The next generation of Americans are using it, and that's actually
Why are
the
they booing
point.
him?
You have her supporters propping her up. That's fine. Here's the truth.
Can someone let us know why they're booing him really quickly? Sorry, guys.
Actually, to say that we're just going to ban one app, we got to go further. We have to ban any U.S. company actually transferring U.S. data to the Chinese. Here's a story most people don't know.
Great answer, because this guy was anti-censorship before. He's making it clear that's a national security issue.
Right.
Banning a foreign government from using Americans' private information. You people who think you're going to catch conservatives, well, you're pro-free speech until we get it. You get some views on TikTok with your gender bender bullshit. This is a good answer, and it's consistent.
You can't be fair weather fans of the right policy. Get to the root cause. Even U.S. companies in Silicon Valley are regularly doing it. Cut the virtue signaling. The fact of the matter is Democrats are on TikTok today. The only person, one of the few people who is putting up content the way the actual algorithms work, speaking for pro-Israel views or others, is
Ambassador
me. And I predict
Haley,
more Republicans will join it. But stop U.S. companies from
So what he said was about her daughter, and I think she said something to the effect of "leave my daughter out of it." And I think there was some boos because he had mentioned her. And I think he said, my point was the next generation is using this.
Yeah.
If we don't speak to them in some place.
She still has that feminist in her, so she has to feign offense. Don't insult my daughter.
Against North Korea in a generation. That is literally the reason North Korea stopped testing ballistic missiles. So I said China did good on their part. That was a negotiation you could never
is
do.
what you said, Nikki. Those are your words, not mine. And so just own up to it.
You would never
you can
be
change
able
your
to
mind.
get
That's
that
allowed.
negotiation
But don't
done.
lie to the people
This
about
is
what
like a
you've
pissed
done
off Indian
in
couple.
South Carolina.
My
You
entire
brought them to South
career at
Carolina.
the
Ron is
United
right about
Nations,
that.
every day I fought China, and I did it
Look at the
by
actual
making sure
hard
no
facts.
one
You
could
brought them to
get
this
any
country.
agency heads in UN. I did it by making sure that we called them out on human rights. I did it by making sure that we held them accountable on everything that they did. That's the reason we got out of the Human Rights Council. That's the reason we called them out. And there's not been a day I haven't
Nikki,
stopped.
your
reading.
experience
It is your turn.
policy experience with the millions you made afterwards.
Everybody else is hanging on to the
I
rules.
think that
here,
warrants
Mr.
another, by the way, ding drink. That's been the deadliest rule of tonight's drinking game as far as alcohol poisoning is. We thought there'd be some, but I didn't know it would be entirely a cat fight.
Quiet, Captain Ambience on.
Wait. He walked outside of his podium. It's like, hey, there's a mic
Former
there, sir.
President Trump, he tried to ban TikTok twice, but was struck down by our federal courts. If you cannot ban TikTok, you should eliminate the Chinese presence on the app. Period. We also should provide, in my parents' Bill of Rights, we give parents the opportunity to give their kids permission under 14 to be on those apps. I think it's incredibly important for us as Americans to take back control of the information, especially of our kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Good luck with
His
that.
solutions just aren't very implementable. That's his
Ways that
problem.
we get to know that is by
Almost seems a little myopic.
It seems like he thinks he's Ronald Reagan speaking to people in the 80s who aren't aware of how technology works. Comment below if you think so, or use the hashtag Crowder Debate Night. Is it Crowder GOP Debate? They gave me the wrong one.
I know.
Okay, all right.
We have to make sure that we use the tools that are in our
Stop
toolkit
fake IDs at bar.
from buying farmland near our
Nikki
bases.
Haley knows all about tools. There's a power tool, could chip a tooth.
They stop stealing our intellectual property. They're literally stealing our IP to compete against us. My administration,
Intellectual property.
we
Chris
stop
Christie's safe.
one, and we start making sure
You know,
that we
in
create
fairness to the Chinese, I used to steal their intellectual property during a test. You know what I mean?
Yes.
strategy.
We all did. We all did.
Thank you so much.
Anyone who
We're now
virtue
gonna
signals,
talk
don't
about
worry. We all
Venezuela,
did.
where millions have fled political and economic turmoil. Many Venezuelan immigrants are settling right here in Florida. Former President Trump and President Biden have taken different approaches to Nicolas Maduro's regime with little result. Former President Trump put economic pressure on Venezuela and backed one of Maduro's rivals. President Biden temporarily eased sanctions to encourage
And then
electoral
fell down the
reforms.
stairs.
Governor
And Bernie
DeSantis
Sanders praised their bread lines.
situation in Venezuela as a threat to the United States, and what would your approach be?
We should never.
You guys bring up that old Bernie clip. People don't realize he praised the bread lines. That's not a joke.
Yeah, what did he say? I remember.
That's a good thing. They're waiting for the bread. That's a good thing. They said, "Are you sure about this?" He said, "Oh, son of a bitch! Stop cutting me off when I answer about Chavez."
We're
You
going to
get
lower
one per
energy
night.
costs, but we're also going to be more energy independent and secure. We'll choose Midland over Moscow. We'll choose the Marcellus over the Mullahs, and we'll choose Bakken over Beijing. That is good for America's national security. Biden's Green New Deal, that's good for Venezuela, it's good for Russia, it's good for Iran, and it's good for China. So I would turn the screws on the Venezuelan regime. I think it's a corrupt, dictatorial regime, and we should never go hat in hand begging for oil from them.
Just to be clear, would you
Good
reimpose
answer.
the sanctions?
Yes, absolutely.
Ambassador
Clear
Haley, what would
answer.
your
Good.
approach be?
You know, I stood on the Simon Bolivar Bridge and watched
Selling mass
thousands
matter.
of Venezuelans cross for hours in the hot sun holding their babies to get the one meal they might get that day going from Venezuela to Colombia. They were fleeing socialism and begging for freedom. We need to make sure that we do everything we can to sanction Maduro. We shouldn't be getting dirty oil, and Biden just gave 500,000 Venezuelans
By the
temporary
way, it's why I
priorities.
won't get oil, I believe, from or gas from 7-Eleven unless they changed it.
It cracks
It's
me
dirty.
up that Ron
It was largely
continues
Venezuelan oil.
Is that
For
Venezuelan
a
oil?
long time. I can't remember if it was 7-Eleven and Citgo, or they swapped at one point. But 7-Eleven, a lot of their pumps were getting oil from Venezuela. We don't need oil from anyone else. We don't need gas from. We do not need petroleum products from anywhere outside the United States. That is a huge failure of American policy.
A lot of the clock bars.
It's a huge failure of the Biden administration.
Of American policy, period.
Yeah.
Barack Obama, same thing with George W. Bush. There is no reason that we should not be drilling,
Well, Trump
for example,
had us
in Alaska.
independent. That's what I'm saying,
No,
yeah.
for the first time under Donald Trump, we were a net oil exporter. That was the first time it happened in our lifetime.
When's the last time you heard fracking?
No, I know.
Huh?
Not since he killed the Keystone Pipeline.
Well,
Yeah.
Keystone
But
XL.
how much
XL.
we're
The
sitting
XL.
on? We're sitting on a kind of natural.
Right, so they go, it's bad for the environment. So let's get it from Venezuela.
Issues for voters, that of course is the economy. This is a question that will go to all of you. An Iowa voter recently told NBC News, "How am I going to make sure my pantry's stocked without breaking the bank?"
Really quickly, I
You've
think
all-
this is probably a good time to go to it. Donald Trump talking about. I said, look, what's the top clip so far from Donald Trump? And I think it has to do.
It's him slugging a lady in the head.
Do you have
Yeah,
that?
I got it.
Let's do it.
All right, let's go bring up the Donald Trump clip now.
The radical left Democrats rigged the presidential election of 2020, and we're not going to allow them to rig the presidential election.
That's what we say up here in heaven.
Didn't mention Fred, his brother up there.
That's and you know that Nick. They also called me from hell. They said Nikki Haley's knocking at the gate. She's trying to sell her body. Cheap whore, Nikki Haley is what I think.
In high heels.
Build here,
Miss
don't
that guy.
borrow from China plan that is embedded the Made in America strategy creates 10 million new jobs.
Somebody
in
tell
3 different areas. One is
Tim that Obama fucked it up for all black guys.
And by the way, while we're talking about this economy thing, people, they try and change the job numbers. We can bring these up as overlays here. They just had a new jobs report from Biden. Okay, so look, I understand that you might look at a number, for example, unemployment 3.9, think that's great. Well, you're not taking into account under Biden because you are living, obviously, the economy, and you know that you are worse off. Most Americans know that they are worse off. Here's how you know that's true. When even NBC is asking the question predicated on the premise that, okay, people are struggling economically, so how are you going to improve it? That was not the question when they were asking these questions for the debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. They were asking about COVID and how they were going to bring back the economy. They would not have had that question to ask. So 3.9 doesn't seem that bad until you take into account the labor force participation rate, how many people are working 1, 2, 3 part-time jobs. And when you also look at the difference between the public sector versus private job growth, there's something called shovel-ready jobs. Barack Obama used it. We've used the example of the trees in northern Michigan, where they just said, grab a shovel, plant some trees. And they were planted so close together because these people had no business planting trees that we call them up north trees. As you get toward, people know Traverse City, Leelanau Peninsula, it looks like the Mario level with the mushroom caps.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know how to plant trees, but that counted as a job. So the most striking difference to me is if you look at the public sector job growth, okay? Well, let's go to private sector first. Under Donald Trump, when we compare quarters for quarters on the jobs report, he added 128,000 jobs in the private sector. Biden added 99,000 jobs. Okay.
And 96 of those are in China.
In the public sector, Biden added 51,000 jobs, meaning your taxes are paying for new so-called jobs like IRS agents, employees. Donald Trump reduced it by 3,000. It was a net loss of 3,000 public sector jobs. Huge. So he had a lower unemployment rate. He had a lower part-time employment rate. He had more private job growth. It wasn't even close. And he actually was the first president that I know in modern history who reduced the size of the public sector. Plus 51,000 jobs with Joe Biden in the public sector.
Mostly IRS.
Minus 3,000 under Donald Trump, and he still had better job performances. Something else to know, Donald Trump's jobs, his jobs reports, when those came out, the economic reports, they always had to adjust them later on because the numbers were higher than they initially reported. Surprise, they've always had to adjust Joe Biden, former Vice President Biden's, later on because they're lower than suggested.
This time, too.
Exactly. That's a consistent through line, not once or twice.
How about wages, Steve?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Donald Trump, the wages went up close to $5,000. People under 8 years of Obama, it was about $1,200. With Joe Biden, the actual wage, it's been a wage decrease when you adjust for inflation because the inflation has been so bad. It's not just what they say. They are asking this question, NBC, on the premise that, of course, people are struggling and making less money. Let's go hear DeSantis and his cowboy boots.
I'm going to throw it in the trash can on day one where it belongs. That is going to give the economy breathing room, and I'm also going to rein in the Federal Reserve. They have helped create, with their reckless monetary policy, what we have faced since the COVID-19 pandemic. They botched it. Congress botched it. Both parties are to blame. Fed should focus on stable prices. They are not an economic
Abolish the Fed. Get rid of them. They should focus on nothing.
Yep.
Well, Hamas is trying to do that.
Ways that you can improve people's financial condition in the short term.
Right. As a CEO, the economic question is core to my vision, policy prescription for this country. Increase the supply of everything. It's the law of supplies and demand. Increase the supply of energy. That brings down the cost of energy, grows the economy. Drill, frack, burn coal, embrace nuclear. Increase the supply of labor in this country. Stop using our taxpayer money to pay people more to stay at home instead of to go to work. Increase the supply of housing. People don't talk about this one in the Republican Party. The land use restrictions are constricting the supply of housing. That's making housing more expensive for ordinary Americans across this country. So that's the true answer. And I think it takes a CEO in the White House who actually understands this to get this done. Because Americans at home, they know the Bidenomics is a lie. Prices are going up. Interest rates and mortgages to buy your home are going up. But wages have remained flat. That's the hard diagnosis for our economy. And this is about more than just our economy. I say this as a member of my generation. I'm 38 years old. I'm the youngest person ever to run for U.S. president as a Republican. The reason my generation has lost our sense of national pride, in part, is because people in my generation feel like the American dream isn't available to them. And part of the reason why is we burdened them with four-year college degrees that did not serve their head start on the American dream. People will be more proud of a country
answers.
if we're all making more money in that country. This is how we revive national pride and our identity, and it will take a CEO in the White House with zero-based budgeting, by the way, to take on the federal debt to get this job done.
Let me turn to Governor Christie on that.
Well, look, that's
Let me step on your applause, Mr.
The entire premise of the question, and I agree with Tim on this, is absolutely energy is the key to this because it drives every one of those other prices.
And you're brimming with it.
Now food gets to your grocery store, it gets trucked. And those truckers have to pay for fuel and for the higher fuel prices. And when you go ahead and you tell people,
of course he talks
we
about
are
food.
going to unleash every bit of American energy, every bit of its potential, what happens in the futures markets? The prices go down because those people who are believing that the Biden program will continue are the ones who are bidding this up. And let me tell you the other place that's bidding it up, in the Middle East. And so if you don't believe that making sure that Israel and that Israel situation that's going on right now
isn't resolved and resolved quickly as President of the
Two
United
drinks,
States?
because the I stand with Israel shtick and the fake tough guy shtick.
Yep.
Drink. Bring up the drinking game rules so people know. I'm sorry that our rules are so effective.
As well, in what they say is in response to a crisis, when it's really what it's in response to is putting more money in their pockets. When they have an American president who knows that Israel must be defended not with humanitarian pauses and not with suggestions for ceasefire, but with letting them know we will supply them with everything they need. That will also bring stability to the market. Energy is the key to bringing this down. It's what every American family needs when they turn on their lights, fill up their car, and go to the grocery store. And we need to do that first and foremost. That's the short-term answer.
Governor Christie, thank you. Ambassador Haley, let me come at this from a slightly different direction. Americans in rural communities are being especially squeezed by inflation right now. An Iowa State University study found that last year inflation cost rural households about an extra $5,000. How would you specifically help rural Americans who are suffering right now, Ambassador?
Well, I'm a product of rural America. I grew up in rural South Carolina. And I can tell you what we're seeing now in America is the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. We have to go and start beefing up the middle class. And the first thing I would do is I will eliminate the federal gas and diesel tax in this country. We'll cut taxes on the middle class. But we have to stop this spending binge that's happening by Republicans and Democrats in Congress. I will make sure, one, we claw back the $500 billion of unspent COVID dollars that are out there. Instead of 87,000 IRS agents going after middle America, we'll go after the hundreds of billions of dollars of COVID fraud that exist, one out of every $7. We'll stop the spending, we'll stop the borrowing, we'll eliminate the earmarks, and I'll veto any spending bill that doesn't go back to pre-COVID levels. That will cut trillions and allow us to be safe. We also need to be not energy independent, energy dominant.
I just can't listen to a woman talk about not spending money.
The reason no one should give you a number, Hugh, on the amount of ships in the Navy is because in a few years, our interest expense is going to be more than our defense budget. So no one can give you that number realistically without first
Tim Scott just told a dirty joke to Vivek. Did you see that? He was going like, yeah, she did.
This is a crisis. It is a national security concern. If we don't deal with what's going to happen with that interest expense in a few years, we're going to look like Japan.
I'm going to use that joke, Tim Scott.
Oh my God, you get them done already.
Dollar matters.
Ambassador, thank you very much.
Chris, Nikki Haley.
Americans could see their Social Security benefits drastically cut
this
decade because
Thank God.
program is running out of money.
I think they've done a pretty good job tonight, NBC.
Yes, I agree.
Not bad.
Circumstances should Republicans cut entitlements. Governor Christie, first to you. You have proposed raising the retirement age for younger Americans. What would that age be specifically?
He's not going to make it.
105.
That's going to drop that next week.
Sure, and we have to deal with this problem. Now, look, if we raise the retirement age a few years for folks that are in their 30s and 40s, I have a son who's in the audience tonight who's 30 years old. If he can't adjust to a few-year increase in Social Security retirement age over the next 40 years, I got bigger problems with him than his Social Security payments.
I love you, Dad.
The fact is, we need to be realistic about this. There are only three things.
My son out there sitting in seats 11, 12, 13, 14.
Retirement age, eligibility for the program in general, and taxes. That's it. We are already overtaxed in this country, and we should not raise those taxes. But on eligibility also, I don't know if out there tonight, and if you're watching Warren, I don't know if Warren Buffett is collecting Social Security, but if he is, shame on
Jimmy
you.
Buffett
You shouldn't be taking the money. There are a lot of programs in this country that we all pay for that we don't get a direct benefit from. Food stamps is one of them. I've never, fortunately in my life, ever had me or my family on food stamps.
No, you ate the food
but
stamps.
I'm glad it's
True.
there.
Government cheese.
So that no one in this country goes to bed hungry at night if they have availability to that program.
Yeah, too easy.
They live on your block?
Security, remember why it was established.
I went for a snack. It's all gone. Always.
To make sure that no one would grow old in this country in poverty. That's what we got to get back
Christie
to.
moves in. It's a food desert.
Social Security.
Governor,
Because I
can you
woke
give
up
me a
last night, I had pizza crust on my chest.
Cut Social
That's going to
Security.
be a part of a negotiation.
They don't want to talk about Social Security. If I'm not mistaken, you guys can bring it up. I did a video on this a long time ago where I reported Social Security to the SEC. I believe it was 16 workers per retiree when they launched it, and the average life expectancy was about 67 years old. Now I believe it's 3 workers per retiree, and the average life expectancy is 75 years old. A Ponzi scheme is where you have a financial plan, think of like a pyramid scheme, where it requires new people, right? New people to pay into the scheme to pay out the initial investors, and the new people won't be paid out. That is Social Security, but it's a third rail that even GOP candidates don't really want to touch because a lot of old people vote for them. So I'm curious to see if anyone here says, look, it's insolvent.
You go and you say, we're going to change the rules. You change the retirement age for them. Instead of cost of living increases, we should go to increases based on inflation. We should limit benefits on the wealthy. Bernie Marcus can tell you he hates getting that check. Limit the benefits on the wealthy. And then expand Medicare Advantage plans. Seniors love that. And let's make sure we do that
Sounds like
so
Bernie.
they can have more competition. That's how we'll deal with entitlement reform, and that's how we'll start to pay down this debt.
And can you give me a specific age? Have you determined the age?
Again, you have to work with Chris. What I can tell you is it's going to be those in their 20s just coming into the system, and it should reflect more of life expectancy. It doesn't do that now.
All right, Mr. Ramaswamy, have you determined?
He's going to give a clear answer. He's going to say it's not a thing. So
What reforms are you looking at?
So this is really important right now. We're working within the last window I believe we will have to actually fix this problem while still leaving Social Security and Medicare benefits for current seniors intact. I'll tell you how. The other candidates assume, like Nikki, that it can't be done. And on her math, she's right about it. But her math assumes $7 trillion of our $33 trillion national debt going to fight wars like in places like Iraq and Afghanistan. Minus that, our national debt would be $26 trillion right now. Then you go to zero-based budgeting, which I've proposed as a CEO. It's how I've run businesses. It's how many CEOs run businesses.
This is very important in comparison to baseline budgeting. Ever heard of construction season on roads?
As the baseline, and then ask what's actually necessary. 75% headcount reduction. Yes, that is severe. In the number of federal employees in the Washington, D.C. bureaucracy. Shut down redundant agencies that should not exist. Deliver economic growth as a positive tailwind. I think we can get to 3, 4, maybe even 5% GDP growth if we really take the regulatory shackles off of our economy.
We had that for several quarters under Donald Trump. You guys can bring it up. How many quarters did we have that were well over 3%? I knew well over 4% for quite a few of them.
Including sacrificing the foreign wars that many bloodthirsty members of both parties have a hunger for. That's the one secret for how we're going to be able to do this, and that requires discipline. So we can't have the first conversation we were having, sending foreign aid willy-nilly to countries whose national debt per capita is less than ours.
Thank you,
But if we
Mr.
do this
Ramaswamy.
correctly, I think this is our last window, and it'll take a CEO from the next generation to do it.
Thank you very
Look,
much.
this is
Senator
unpopular. It's a very difficult issue for people to tackle because at some point you have to rip the Band-Aid off. Did they bring in the retiree per active worker stat?
Not yet.
I believe it was 16-1, and it went to 3-1 when I did this video in 2011, maybe 2010. It comes down to this. Do you really believe in the vision where they say, hey, yeah, we're not going to touch your Social Security and this is something that we can do forever? Or do you understand that it's simply a program that was created at a time when life expectancy was different? The entitlement programs that we had as a general rule were different. Our policing the world was very different, and our debt was not at the level that it is now. You have to acknowledge the reality. And I get it. You have a lot of boomer voters, and I'm not insulting boomers who say, well, I paid in. Well, guess what? So are people now. Especially you have millennials who are 40 who've been paying in. And the only way that they get paid out is if you raid something else. You need to grab another slush fund. That's really what we're talking about. So people don't want to address this head on. Remember, Rick Perry got in a lot of trouble because he said that Social Security was a problem. Mitt Romney went after him. I really would like to see a shift away from that with the GOP. And Vivek is the only one who answered that in a way that, frankly, is somewhat reality-based. Let me know when they bring in those numbers.
2017, what happened? Revenue went up by 3%, and the next year it went up by another 3%. So what we know is that the Laffer curve still works, that the lower the tax, the higher the revenue. And finally, if we're going to deal with it, we have to take our annual appropriations.
He's referring to Art Laffer, the Laffer curve. If you're not familiar with it, it's the idea that there's an ideal point where you tax people, where you generate maximum revenue. I believe his is somewhere around 30%. And there's also something that's more interesting, I find, Hauser's Law. I believe it's Hauser, Hauser's Law, where if you look at the amount of taxes that have been collected over the last several decades, it still has averaged pretty consistently overall when you average it across income, across value-added tax, all of that. 16 to 20%. Let's average it somewhere around 18%. The revenue collected doesn't change if you increase the taxes. It remains remarkably stable as a byproduct of GDP. Regardless of the income tax, it stabilizes because if people have higher income tax, they spend less. It ends up being around that number between 16 to 20%, kind of no matter what you do.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that's boring. A lot of people don't want to discuss, but as a matter of tax policy, it is an unavoidable reality. So if you could just tax people up to 90%, like Bernie Sanders said was a good thing, and that would generate 90% more revenue, great. It doesn't work. So right now, look up Hauser's Law. We have a reference at louderwithcredit.com. What the? Oh, well, fuck you.
What happened?
A lot of seniors throughout this country. So
You know
I'd
what?
say to seniors,
That's a valid point.
Promise made, promise kept. I understand what
Phillips
you're going
curve?
with the
That's
rising.
not
That's a screwdriver. I'm more of a
Remember that
flathead man, but
Checks, and we'll make sure to
I
get
deserved
that
it.
done. What can you do to help shore up Social Security? One of the things that's causing problems is the inflation. We have to reduce inflation.
Okay, I'm going to be very brief and do this. So retiree ratio 1940, 42 workers per retiree. It's even worse than you thought. 3-to-1 now is correct by 2050, down to 2-to-1.
Okay.
Get to at least 3% growth. You're never going to be able to have issues.
You can admonish me later. I said 16-to-1, but I guarantee you that's a study somewhere that had a leftist slant. No, I know, but I still deserve to be admonished because I didn't point out the severity. But that's because Mr. Naps a lot over here.
You won it.
Okay.
Well, I didn't start napping until you called yourself on how dry the
2018 Q2 GDP growth under Trump, 4.1%.
4.1%. They're acting like that's something they can aspire to that's pie in the sky. It was a reality under Donald Trump. Think about that. They're saying they could maybe get what I did all the time. Imagine if I had 4 more years. Imagine that. Look, that filthy whore Nikki Haley doesn't have a chance. Maybe 2% GDP. That's generous. A lot of people, St. Peter told me from heaven, bitch can't get 2.5% GDP.
By the way, since we're talking about Trump, clip Little Pump real quick, Tim.
All right, let's do this.
Well, she's going to have a puppet.
Rapper Lil Pump. Lil Pump. L-I-L. Lil.
I love
I
it.
said, how do you pronounce that? They say Lil.
I love it.
That was perfect.
All right. Well, look, hey, let's take a minute right now. They're going to commercial break. We have the rest of that interview with Vivek. I believe that you can play what you had there. If you can pull that up in just 1 second, and we will make sure that we get back to this and any other Trump stuff that's coming up, right?
And send into the chat if there's something you would like to see us cover between the Trump town hall, between his rally, and the debate. If there's something we're missing, let us know because we answer to you, Mug Club, not to a bunch of corporate donors or big tech, who I'm pretty sure are about to suspend us anyways over the Nashville Manifesto. Let's go to America's favorite Indian and Gerald.
Obtained by the police. But were you surprised at the response?
Could have released this.
Well, no, they could
have
have very easily released this, given us some information. Were you surprised by the response immediately? Google started the search, had like a blacked out thing saying, hey, the data on this is changing very quickly. They ended up pulling down YouTube videos for that. Reddit ended up blocking users permanently for it. We ended up having Facebook block it. Like immediately, big tech, poof, silence. Can't talk about this. Can't post it.
I think there's a difference between being surprised and appalled. At this point, I'm not surprised, but I'm nonetheless unsurprised though I am. I'm still appalled, and that's what moves me to want to lead this country, to set a tone from the top of the executive branch of the government to say we're done with this phase of our national history. We will set an example. Anytime a government actor has pressured a private actor to do something through the back door or silence something that the government couldn't do directly, we will publish it. Roll that log over. Let's see what crawls out. It's going to be ugly, but we got to see it first before we fix it. Whether that's within this Republican Party, whether that's within the deep state of the federal government that I'll be running as the next president if I'm elected, whether it's any sphere of our lives, that's the example we have to set. We the people handle the truth. That's the first step. Sometimes the truth is ugly. You got to see it if you're to fix it. And so, anyway, man, we're I probably got to rock and roll pretty soon. Debate. We'll be back. I'm going to pop into where we're and see the kids a little bit, have some food with them, and then we'll be back in the debates tonight.
That sounds good, and we look forward to seeing it. Look, if you're available post or would like to come back on to talk about how the debate went, let us know. We'd love to have you, but thank you for taking a few minutes, and hope you get some rest, enjoy some family time, and have a great debate.
All right, man. Well, tell everybody, said Hotel Crowder and crew.
I will.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank
Vivek.
you. Take care. Take care. Bye.
Yeah, you like that?
Oh, yeah. You actually hit it right on the spot.
Yeah, is that good?
Like literally, that is the good stuff right
You want
there.
to go deeper?
Yeah, go deeper.
Go deeper?
Oh yeah.
Harder?
No, just a little harder.
Guys, what's going on here?
Just nothing. Just applying this CBDISTILLERY stick to Yakuza's back.
Yeah, I got a kink in my back.
He's real kinky.
Which is, I don't want to kink shame. Could you keep it down in a place of work or do it at home?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah, we'll go somewhere else. Yeah, it's okay.
Wait, is that my CB Distillery stick? I've been looking everywhere for it. You can keep it, though. I'll just order my own, and you can keep it. And I'll order another one from CBDISTILLERY.com. If I use the promo code Crowder, it's 20% off.
Oh, that's a nice deal. Do we all get that deal? Can I get that deal?
Yeah, anyone can get that deal.
Nice. I'll get one. You could put it on my back.
Why would I do that? Why would I get a new one at 20% off only to use it again on your hairy back?
Well, how else? You're supposed to put it on my back, and then I put it on Yakuza's.
No one has to put it.
You have to back to back.
It's not an I do your back and you do Yakuza's back. I don't want anything of mine touching your back.
That's not what I was told.
Ever. I don't. Who's telling you anything? What are you hearing?
There's people are talking.
People.
They said. Well, it doesn't.
I don't want to touch.
Can I put it? Do you want me to put it on right now?
I don't want that. I'm going to order another one, and no one's touching your back.
All right. Bye, Stephen.
No. No.
Go to CBDistillery.com and enter the promo code Crowder for 20% off. No prescription required.
All right, we're actually going to take just a second. The debate is coming back, but we're going to go to Donald Trump's rally right now in Florida as well. Let's see what he's saying.
Republicans, by the way, anytime you have mail-in ballots, you are going to have really corrupt elections. But until then, Republicans must win. We have to win so we can do this. And in conclusion, this is what we must do to restore our country to greatness. Together, we're taking on some of the most menacing forces and vicious opponents our people have ever seen. No matter how hateful or corrupt the communists and criminals we're fighting against may be, you must never forget this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you. It belongs to the people with us tonight. That's how we won.
It's our land.
This is your home. This is your heritage, and our American liberty is your God-given right. From Tampa to Tallahassee, from Pensacola to Sarasota, from Gainesville to Jacksonville to Miami, we inherit the legacy of generations of
Liberty City,
patriots who gave their blood,
the Pork and
sweat,
Beans Project,
tears to defend our country and to defend our freedom. We stand on the shoulders of American heroes who crossed the oceans, blazed the trails,
sailed the ocean blue,
tamed the wilderness,
1492.
laid
Hey, you're
down
getting
the
it.
railroads,
I can't do it.
dug out the Panama
I don't know how he
Canal.
does it.
Nobody thought it was possible.
A lot of people.
Raised
Nobody
up the
thought it was
skyscrapers,
possible.
won 2 world wars, defeated fascism and communism, and from
I like that he
right here in
harkens
this
back to
beautiful
like
state
the
launched our
triumphs
brave
of
American
our country.
astronauts to
and
really
our
is like-
culture.
the American flag.
He makes me
on the
believe in
face of
positive thinking, which I never believe in.
Yeah, we whooped the world's butt again.
Yep.
Done it twice.
into the single
We went to the
greatest
moon.
nation in the history.
Here's the other thing about him. He did all that as a novice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he didn't win world wars as an. I mean,
No, I'm
I
not
was
talking about
before
that.
him,
I'm
but
talking about what he accomplished.
Uh-huh.
All the shit that they're saying tonight on stage, he already did, and he was brand new at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll be taking too much
His theme
people
music
advice.
too, which is fun. Build it.
What happened? They throwing somebody
Make
out?
them want more.
Somebody heckling him?
Can't believe it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, we got Christy back online there.
Very sad. Video behind me, sad. Listen to the music. All right, let's go back to the debate really quickly. Let's see what Tons of Fun has to say.
he's thinner this time.
I say it
Ports of
lovingly.
entry
Sure.
And at the open ports of our border. Customs and Border Patrol agents are overwhelmed. There's 200,000 encounters a month
I don't.
over the last 11 months.
He's a big fella. Look, I'm a big fella.
No,
too.
I'm not talking about that. I just can't trust a Republican from the Northeast.
I can't trust a Republican
You know what I'm saying?
who invited Obama there after Superstorm Stan.
He gave him a French kiss on the beach right after the.
Pretty much did, yeah.
Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
You remember that?
Gross.
Enough
Seriously.
other ports of entry. Now, we also need to lower demand, Hugh, in this country. And the way to lower demand is to start treating people again.
What?
You know, we started to do this
Treat-
before COVID.
Oh, cool.
And we haven't done enough of it. And for every family out there tonight
Mental illness?
who has lost a loved one to fentanyl or to any other type of opioid overdose, what you know is all you want is a chance for them to win their lives back.
Slows
When I'm president of the United States, we're going to call this what it is. It is a disease, like heart disease, diabetes, or any other disease like cancer that can be treated, should be treated. We not only have to stop supply, but we have to lower demand and save lives.
You'll never do it. You'll never do it. You'll never win the drug war. Stop acting like you're going to win the drug war and get people to stop doing drugs. It's not going to happen.
Attack the cartels where they manufacture the
It
chemicals.
just pisses me off because, like, we're going to do this. We're going to. I've been saying that for 30 years,
Right,
40 years,
right.
50 years.
A
I
lot
don't know.
of-
Go back as far as you want to go. You're not going to do it. Don't give me pie in the sky. Just say this is a battle that we're probably going to have to deal with for the rest of our lives, and we're going to have to fight for our loved ones if we want to keep them from falling victim to this. I have family members that have dealt with this. I understand what it's like. I don't need pie in the sky. I need honest, real solutions, and I need to understand the problem. But don't tell me you're going to solve it.
Don't bring pie into it. Christie's talking.
Fentanyl and the drug war and what we're going to do for families. We're going to treat this. We're going to get it taken care of. No, you're not. Sorry.
Look, I don't know if you guys brought up these
defeatist, but you're not going to do it.
Sorry, I don't know if you guys brought up these stats, and I say this as, by the way, I just use the CB Distillery stick. It's keeping me afloat. So
It is,
you go to CBDISTILLERY.com and enter the promo code Crowder. By the way, I used it after the surgery when they weren't even a sponsor. They're one of the best companies out there. You can trust what's in there. But I will say this with fentanyl, the opioid crisis. Everyone here, and I say this because I know this is a really, really boring. Oh, I had it in the hospital. It is good stuff. They also Dilaudid, morphine, everything.
Morphine's my favorite.
They all have to treat this as though it's something we unilaterally agree upon. This is an unpopular opinion, but if you do the research, look, opioid deaths have increased as prescribing has gone down. The vast majority of opioid deaths are from illicit drugs that are not prescribed, just to be clear, street drugs. And the vast majority of people who get addicted to opioids are people who are already addicted to another substance to begin with. So we need to be careful with them. However, the idea that someone is now dying because of a fentanyl overdose that was prescribed to them because Timmy went in for a wisdom tooth removal and became a junkie blowing someone for a packet of Vicodin is not true. That is not accurate. And we now have doctors who won't even prescribe painkillers to people who will be in lifelong pain from, say, car wrecks or being, trampled by a Chris Christie. So we need to be honest about the problem that we're facing. The problem we are facing is a drug trade. It's a border crisis. It is not doctors prescribing painkillers to people who need it. I know a lot of, and this is not me in the pocket of Big Pharma. I think that some doctors are willy-nilly. Of course, when we go back to Purdue, you look at OxyContin. Yep, they were overprescribing it. But we have let the pendulum swing too far the other way, and no one wants to actually call it out.
China sends the ingredients to Mexico. They put it together, bring it over.
Border. Take care of the border.
It's an act of war.
Yes.
Once again, put the frickin' military. Enough talk about the wall.
Yeah.
Put the military. That's where DeSantis, I love the fact.
Okay, sorry, I went off on my soapbox, but let's.
Catch and deport, we'll go to catch and release. I'm sorry, instead of catch and release, we'll go to catch and deport. That is the way we'll deal with the border. Those are the things that we have to do going forward. But I do agree with Chris. One of the first things that we have to do is really focus on mental health and addiction centers. It is something that is needed in our country terribly because we don't deal with mental health. And someone who doesn't get care for mental health falls into addiction. And we owe it to them to treat it like the cancer that it is.
Mr. Ramaswamy.
Notice they always go to Vivek whenever someone says cancer.
One thing I just want to say how we're talking about this issue is, like Ron, I've actually met many parents across this country who have lost their kids to laced pharmaceuticals that have fentanyl in them. The only thing I would ask, Ron, I think you'd be on the same page with me on this. Let's not even call that an overdose.
Hold on a second. Do you mean laced street drugs? Are you trying to say that someone's getting a Norco or a Vicodin laced with fentanyl?
No.
We would not call that an overdose. You'd call it what it is.
A murder.
It's closer to bioterrorism.
Yeah.
And I say that because as it uniquely relates to this crisis, that does warrant more aggressive means to deal with it. So there's a new presidential election in Mexico in 2024. People may not be aware of that. It's going to be someone other than Obrador, who has been a disaster in Mexico. I think he's even mentioned me obliquely in speeches.
He's just going to steal the fentanyl.
Shouldn't get anywhere near the White House. Well, get out of the way.
White people fentanyl.
Build a good relationship with that next president of Mexico. We'll use our own military to seal our own southern border. What we need to do is stop using our military to protect somebody else's border halfway around the world when we're short right here at home. Get serious about protecting this border. And then the other thing that hasn't been discussed is the northern border. I'm the only candidate on the stage, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, keep the Canadians out, eh?
The northern border. There was enough fentanyl that was captured just
to knock
on the
out
northern
Chris
border
Christie
last year to kill 3 million Americans. So we got to just skate to where the puck is going, not just where the puck is. Don't just build the wall, build both walls. Can't just complete the wall, use the military to seal the Swiss cheese for the tunnels that they're actually building underneath that wall.
Winner,
Thank you, Mr. Ramos.
winner, chicken dinner.
This job done.
Thank you. Kristen.
Thank you, Hugh. Let's talk now about last night's election results. Abortion rights supporters saw victories in Ohio and Virginia following earlier wins in states like Kansas and Kentucky. Governor DeSantis, first to you. How do you see
This is an opportunity for someone to cut through the fog and provide a very clear answer. People try to make it seem like it's, abortion is just a losing issue. It is a lack of direction, messaging, period, and being outspent. I'm really curious to see how they answer this.
Who was struggling in Jamaica about 45 years ago.
So I kicked her on the stomach.
To not have a baby because she was poor, baby wouldn't have opportunity, and she came close to have an abortion, but she decided to have the baby, born poor in Jamaica. And the reason I know that story is because that baby girl
that baby cuts my grass.
Florida, becoming a lawyer and a judge, and I appointed her to the Florida Supreme Court in August of 2022. We're better off when everybody counts. We're better off when we can promote a culture of life. At the same time, I understand that some of these states are doing it a little bit different. Texas is not going to do it the same as New Hampshire. Iowa's not necessarily going to do it the same as Virginia. So you got to work from the bottom up. You got to do a better job on these referenda. I think of all the stuff that's happened to the pro-life cause, they have been caught flat-footed on these referenda, and they have been losing the referenda. A lot of the people who are voting for the referenda are Republicans who would vote for a Republican candidate. So you got to understand how to do that. But let's just be clear. The Democrats have taken a position. They will not identify the point at which there should be any protection all the way up until birth. That is wrong, and we cannot stand for that.
All right, Governor DeSantis, thank you. Ambassador Haley, let me have you weigh in. Former President Trump has consistently blamed the abortion issue and how Republican candidates have talked about it for their electoral losses. How do you see the path forward?
I've said it before. I think you have to be honest with the American people. This is a personal issue for every woman and every man. I am unapologetically pro-life, not because the Republican Party tells me to be, but because my husband Michael was adopted and I had trouble having both of my children. So I'm surrounded by blessings.
Try putting it in your vagina.
Post-Roe, a wrong was made right. They took it out of the hands of unelected justices and they put it in the hands of the people. And now we're seeing states vote. And what I'll tell you is, as much as I'm pro-life, I don't judge anyone for being pro-choice, and I don't want them to judge me for being pro-life. So when we're looking at this, there's some states on the pro-life side. I welcome that. There's some states that are going more on the pro-choice side. I wish that wasn't the case, but the people decided. But when it comes to the federal law, which is what's being debated here, be honest, it's going to take 60 Senate votes, a majority of the House, and a president to sign it. So no, we haven't
I don't think there should be a federal law.
In over 100 years. We might have 45 pro-life senators. So no Republican president can ban abortions any more than a Democrat president can ban these state laws. So let's find consensus. Let's agree on how we can ban late-term abortions.
Here's the issue is Ron DeSantis, he didn't get an applause because he just sort of curtailed that. It should be, look, I think it should be the onus should be on the left and Democrats to identify where life begins or there should be limitations. And if they don't, well, then they're going to deal with the boot of the state legislature. And now we're not going to be outspent 2-1. We're going to outspend them 3-1, educating the public as to what constitutes a life. That may require fetal charts. I don't know. But the truth is, most people, when they actually understand the left's policy, they disagree with it.
Right.
They obfuscate their policy. We need to be transparent with it. And of course, this goes to states' rights, which is really what you're looking at when you're talking about the overturning of Roe v. Wade. But let's make sure, I challenge anyone today on this stage, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, run through the list. Say, to define when life begins or where they would place any limitation on abortion. That is an answer that they are required to provide. Put it on them. That's where the Republicans have been so flat-footed with it, where they go, you just want to...
Well, the Democrats haven't given that answer, and they're still winning.
I know. Well, that's because the media never challenges them. The media never challenges them.
But
so
they're never going to.
But it's your job to do it, because now if you do that here today, it gets it gets posted everywhere. It gets disseminated across social media. And then there's some pressure because, a lot of people are sharing this clip, and really, we haven't provided an answer. The media is not going to do it. Cut through the fog yourself. That should be the focus right now. Ron DeSantis kind of added it there as an addendum. Didn't spend enough time on it. Sorry, I'm interrupting Tim Scott, and I know you were all desperate to hear him.
No, he would have knocked me out.
I think it's unethical and immoral to allow for abortions up until the day of birth. We have an opportunity in this nation to stop.
I don't think they're going to say anything super interesting, but there's only about 17 minutes left in this debate. They're all going to give their
He's the flying butterfly in the Lunesta commercial.
We do need to see if we can check back in with Finnegan and see if he ever actually found his way into the arena.
Is that? I need to look at my. I know we have the 7+1 after this, and Alex Jones, of course, providing a post-game wrap-up.
Yeah. So
let me check my map here. All right. Oh, so we do. We have. Okay. Yeah, we have Thomas Finnegan on the ground.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Stephen.
Wow. Okay, so you were really there at the debate. Thank you. I'm impressed. Good job, Finnegan. Who do you have lined up for an interview for us?
Well, it's been kind of a long day, and I haven't had anything to drink yet. I'm rather parched, so I'm going to head back to my motel. I'll try again in the morning.
No. Don't do that at all. You're there. There's no debate in the morning. Okay, it's now. Look behind you. Just wait it out here. Just tough it out. Grab someone and go.
My nails are getting kind of wily. I'm going to have to give those a trim.
Finnegan, no. Finnegan, no. What are you doing? What are you doing? Finnegan, come on. Look, this is one of those times. Buck up. You're right.
Parked over here.
Oh, fuck. Okay, cut it. I just can't even. Pardon my language, just so many of you have signed up for MugClub after the Nashville Manifesto. The promo code undercover, it's still $10 off. And I don't want you to think that all of your money is going to Finnegan. We have him on retainer. That's been legacied in.
Salary.
He was really cheap.
I want to watch Vivek talk about the abortion issue because there's 9 billion of them.
Now, when I was at Radio Shack.
Parental consent. Why? It's back to that Republican culture of losing. The Republicans did not have an alternative amendment or vision on the table. I know Ohio. I was born, raised, and I lived there. It's representative of the country. If in the state of Ohio,
Vivek rocks.
Access to contraception, adoption,
mentioned his home state.
Also, here's the missing ingredient in this movement.
Bring up the drinking game rules. There are only 17 minutes left to be carried to the ICU.
We live in an era of reliable genetic paternity tests that are 100% reliable. So we can say men deserve more responsibility. So we can tell women we're all in this together. It's not men's rights versus women's rights. It's about human rights. And I come back to that case that Clarence Thomas spoke of. A pregnant woman walking down the street. She's assaulted. The unborn child dies in that assault. You find me one person in this country who says that that criminal does not deserve liability for that death. You won't find one. That says we share the same instincts on this issue, but we require, I believe, a different generation of leadership
thank you.
to actually lead us forward and unite the country on this
Thank you.
honesty.
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy. Governor Christie.
Good. I think that was pretty strong.
Yeah. Now let's see if they do the orbit camera with Chris Christie. They've done it for no one else.
And what
I
is
know.
the path
I
forward?
think it's a cameraman screwing with them.
It's a steady
years, conservative lawyers
Are they going to do the
have been
orbit cam?
arguing that the federal government should have absolutely nothing to do with this issue constitutionally because it's nowhere in the Constitution. And then Dobbs comes and we finally gain that victory, which was the creation of a constitutional right out of thin air that didn't exist. And now we have people running to say, let's short circuit the states from doing what they need to do, and let's go right to some type of federal ban at a certain number of weeks. And people on the stage have been all over the place, 20 weeks, 15 weeks, 12, 6. Look,
numbers.
The Frowners were really smart.
They're doing the camera.
This is an issue that should be decided.
What the hell?
And I trust
Look at his
the people of this
ex-wife running the
country,
camera.
state by state,
It's an
to
indoor
make the call
drone.
themselves.
They did it for no one else.
No, it's just
In Oklahoma, you can't get an abortion unless the life of the mother is at risk. In my home state of New Jersey, it goes up to 9 months that you get an abortion. I find
Maybe
that
it's home state.
morally
Home
reprehensible.
state drink, sorry.
But
9
that
months.
is what the people of our state have
Just
voted
poisoned the
for.
kid's Halloween candy a couple years.
That process until every state's
Well, then
people.
I got about 12 of those.
Chris Christie would just be filled with poison.
Yeah, exactly.
Person. The bigger issue is, and Tim began to touch
How do we
on
know
this,
when the procedure's over? Well, you hear the kid's lunchbox hit the floor.
to be
A lot
pro-life
of
for
people
the
trick or
whole
treat
life.
with pillowcases. I use an industrial trash bag.
It's precious, and we should get treatment for her to restore her life. The 52-year-old who's drug addicted should make sure that any of his children who he's passed that addiction on to are treated well, too. Pro-life's not just in the womb, Kirsten. It's for the whole life.
That's a leftist talking point. You fat son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Everything else I was like,
being pro-life doesn't mean pay for all the free stuff by stealing through taxpayers.
Former Jersey governor.
Presidential debate.
It's about as Republican
so they're
as
taking a bit of a break here. We can Donald Trump, I think, has wrapped up by this point.
Yeah.
So he's wrapped. We covered a couple of the highlights from him, but we do have the 7+1 that we need.
We do the 7+1. We might want to do it after. We want to go to the Hillary Clinton stuff from the View,
where they
yeah. I think we should do. Let me make sure I have these clips lined up. What do we have? Oh, okay. So here was Hillary. And by the way, the promo code is undercover. Thank you so much. Let me just reiterate this because there's been a lot of false reporting on the Nashville manifesto. Just to be clear, no one was paid for that story. Our source has been protected. We will protect them. We will be willing to go to jail for our sources.
Our source is not one of the 7 that were put on administrative.
Not one of the 7 put on administrative leave, despite what questionable journalists have tried to tell you. And a big, by the way, just so you know, a big goal of that is to intimidate whistleblowers into silence. Our whistleblower is as safe as in their mother's arms. You can send in your tips to lwctips@protonmail.com. We will protect it, and it actually is a testament to how great of a job the undercover unit has done here, the investigative journalism unit, because they put 7 people on leave, and they messed up. Hey, MNPD, go, try again. Pussy.
Life sucks. Get a fucking helmet.
There you go. I love that Dennis Leary line, that
so
classic,
good.
iconic line, that he used.
Dude, he's
all
so
right.
good.
Here's Hillary Clinton, who went on The View today, I guess. Wow. And she lumbered onto The View and said that a Trump 2024 victory would mean the end of America as we know it.
Your loss to Trump in 2016 will go down in history as one of the most pivotal times in our country, one of the most pivotal moments in our country. And it's still reeling from Trump's policies, I think, and the deep divisions that he sowed in this country. What, in your view, would happen if he were to be reelected?
Oh, I can't even think that, because I think it would be the end of our country as we know it.
What?
Yes.
Shut up.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone have any response? No? Okay.
Yeah, I hope she fucking dies in her sleep. Fucking thick ankle,
I just have a quick
face.
question. Did our country end when he beat you the first time?
Yeah, it's funny enough, it did better.
Funny enough. Hey, did he leave office even though he thought the election was stolen?
Well, she did go on to clarify, she substantiated. She showed her work. She was panting. She explained why a second Trump term would be worse than, and I want to make sure I'm reading this correctly. She compared him to Hitler.
Wow,
And
original
so
thinker.
Now he is going to, if he were ever near the Oval Office again, find people who have no principles, no conscience, who are totally
You're
tied,
unavailable, I've heard.
to his fortunes,
She's
literally,
projecting.
and therefore would do whatever he said. And so the wreckage is almost unimaginable. When I was Secretary of State, I used to talk about one and done. And what I meant by
Greatest
that is that
accomplishment.
Like you and Clinton with
people would
Chelsea.
get legitimately elected.
Good one.
And then they would try to do away with elections and do away with opposition and do away with a free press. And you could see it in countries where, Hitler was duly elected, right? And so all of a sudden, somebody with those tendencies, those dictatorial, authoritarian tendencies, would be like, oh, okay, we're going to shut this down. We're
Big statement from someone dressed like a guard at Treblinka.
And they didn't usually telegraph that. Trump is telling us what he intends to do.
We need to listen to
Take him at his word. The man means to throw people in jail who disagree with him, shut down legitimate press outlets, do what he can to literally.
Let me just be really clear here, okay? Let's look at the political opponents of Donald Trump who were put in jail. I'm counting them up. You can bring this up as a reference. 0. With former Vice President Biden, you have Douglas Mackey, the meme maker, in jail. The meme maker in jail. You have the Proud Boys, right? And by the way, you have the DOJ pushing for more aggressive sentencing, even though they weren't involved with any type of insurrection on January 6th.
Terrorism.
You have Owen Schroyer, who I believe is back in solitary confinement now, if I'm not mistaken.
30 days.
And of course, they're trying to jail Trump.
In 4 states.
One of the biggest criticisms against Donald Trump is that he didn't lock her up, that bitch that you see right there. Right? He didn't jail his political opponents. the DOJ under Joe Biden, Donald Trump, how many times has he been indicted? How many political dissidents has Donald Trump put in jail? This is the fear-mongering from the left. This is projection. They accuse you of doing exactly what it is that they do. We'll go back to it. I know you get riled up with Hillary Clinton.
No,
I know
just
that's
not to
his
mention
work.
the free
really
speech and they fucking shutting down, the laptop story and all that. They go, it's going to be the end of democracy.
Right.
And they've already ended it.
Well, so one of the things I want to ask really quickly, and Tim Scott's giving some statements here, guys, and look, I'm not no disrespect to Tim Scott, but we're probably not going to see him on the debate stage after this, in my opinion. But she's
bold prediction, Cotton.
I know, right? Show me one thing that Trump said where he was serious about never giving up power again. Show me one time where he said, I'm never going to leave office. If you elect me, I'll stay president forever. There was a joke of a meme of Time magazine that was hilarious.
It jokingly.
Yes, of course.
He said that's.
But these guys are like, he's told us what he's going to do. And I'm like,
she's accusing him of doing exactly what she did. She's saying because he questioned the election results, which she did for 4 years.
Yep.
2016 in Russia, for crying out loud.
I know.
She orchestrated. She had Oppo research.
He's never said anything about shutting down media. In fact, he's trying to expand media right now. He's just saying that you guys are fake news.
This is a guy whose son has a show on Rumble.
I know.
All right, let's hear Mr. French.
I'm running for president of the United States because I'm tired.
Well, you're not running.
I'm tired of seeing the division. I'm tired of seeing the anger. And I can see in the eyes of Americans their exhaustion.
Cut to Gerald.
Their exhaustion from the petty personal politics that have taken over this country over the last number of years. I'm running for president to be a president of consequence.
He's doing the
to do the
equivalency
big
thing.
things, to make sure that America's role in the world stays number one, that we stand up for our friends and allies around the world, and we stand up for what we believe in right here at home.
And the 2% of you in the
it's not
primary
to eliminate
that
our
agree with me.
differences. Our differences has always been our strength as a country.
Oh, shut
not our weakness.
up.
But you can't truly
He
say
gets
you love
half
America
of his talking points from the left.
Yes.
Every American.
And the other half is the menu at Golden Corral.
Let me guess. Diversity is our strength.
Yes.
No, differences.
It's our downfall.
We deserve and should accept nothing less.
Governor, thank you very much. Let's go to Mr. Ramaswamy
Thank you,
now.
Chubby.
Your 1 minute.
We've talked a lot about foreign wars tonight, but we're in the middle of a war right here at home.
Yep.
It's a war not between black and white or Democrat and Republican. It's between those of us who believe in our founding ideals and love this country and a fringe minority who hates the United States of America. And I think it's going to take a commander-in-chief to lead us to victory in that war, who first of all knows that we're in a war. Second of all, can't be captured by the special interests along the way. But third is from the next generation, somebody with fresh legs to lead us to victory. I'll shut down the deep state. I'll declare economic independence from China. I'll keep us out of World War III and then revive national pride in this country. I also want to close with one message to the Democrat Party. End this farce that Joe Biden is going to be your nominee. We know he's not even the president of the United States. He's a puppet for the managerial class.
For 3 years.
So have the guts to step up and be honest about who you're actually going to put up so we can have an honest debate. Biden should step aside, end his candidacy now so we can see whether it's Newsom or Michelle Obama or whoever
And
else.
tell us who's
Just
running
tell
the country now.
so we can have an honest
Time is
debate.
up.
Whoa! Put up or shut up.
He just put the.
Good for him.
Thank you.
Drink, mic drop.
Night,
Hit the ding. That's a mic drop.
Thank you.
She's got to
The
follow
world
that.
is on fire.
Thank you, TJ Maxx.
We have a war in Europe. We've got a war
Fact
in the
check,
Middle
Marshall.
East. We've got China on the march. It is very important that we know how to defend our freedoms and how to defeat terrorism and socialism. We have to
Put
know
on
the
your
difference
fatigues.
between good and evil.
Her shoulder's a little
We have to know
asymmetrical.
the difference between right and wrong.
So is mine
We
right now,
need to
my
know
neck.
that a strong America doesn't start wars. A strong America prevents wars. And the
Finishes
way we can focus
wars
on
is
that
what you meant to say.
is to make sure we go back to the soul of America and be strong and proud again. And we can't do that.
With a
we
woman
can't
president.
win the fights of the 21st century with politicians from the 20th century. We have to move forward.
End
and
of
we
story.
can do this. I know we can do this. So join our movement.
You made us
Go
agree
to
funniest man alive right here, right next to
and
me.
we
I'm
will
very grateful.
once again show what America
I'm also
that's
ashamed.
strong and proud looks like. God bless.
Nikki, the
Ambassador,
toast
thank
is
you.
broken. What happened?
Governor DeSantis, you're closing. You have 1 minute.
We must reverse our country's decline, and that is going to require leadership. I will take the hits. I will take the arrows. I will take the barbs.
Reused that line.
Because it's not about me.
This is
It's
why
about
DeSantis
you.
is
It's
not
about the
doing
past.
very
It's
well.
about your
It's because his
future.
advisors say, use this line. Yeah, man. Yeah, it went great. No one can touch you. When he said, I will take the arrows. I will take the hits. He said, why am I saying slings? Slings is what they use to throw the things. No, you'll take the slings. You'll take the slings. You sling.
As president, as the father of 3 young kids, I'm going to ensure that this country is left to the next generation in better shape than we found it. And as the governor of Florida, I delivered on all my promises.
That is true.
You can trust me to deliver for you.
Go keep doing that for a little while.
I think you should stay governor.
For your vote.
Because he's a good governor.
He's a fantastic governor. One of the best.
In the election,
Which usually
I will be a leader.
results in a good president.
Usually does. He just may not be ready right now. His campaign hasn't been great.
God bless you.
Governor DeSantis, thank you.
Oh, the tongue thing was a little weird.
The tongue thing was. They're going to meme that.
It's like a goat sticking out its tongue.
That is going to conclude our debate. The next line says that the audience can hold their applause. That didn't work out. But anyway, for just a few more seconds, I'll ask you to just hold the applause.
Don't you it. He's a robot.
Moderators, I want to thank the candidates for their time and for this spirited debate. Really good, deep conversation, and we appreciate you all being here. Thank you as well to our wonderful hosts here at the Adrian Arsh Performing Arts Center. On behalf of the Republican National Committee and all of us at NBC News, good night,
You just got to read that?
Chris Christie, the buffet is now open.
Yes, it is. I hope they have shrimp. They got good shrimp? Is it deveined? Oh, let's be honest, I don't give a shit. I'll eat the vein.
I could see a sandwich in his thing. There was a fucking sandwich in his podium. If you
brought to you by Jersey Mike's. All right. I am curious to see the coverage really quickly. We'll go to the coverage, the post coverage here on the mainstream news outlets, and then afterwards we're going to have Alex Jones on Mug Club for the post debate roundup. But I guess this is as good a time as any
to do the 7.
I've had 2.5 drinks over the course of the evening. That is it, just to be clear. But the drinking game is far too effective. We're going to have to scale that back.
Yeah.
Hey, might as well. We have this chat. They've been asking for it. It's time for tonight's 7+1.
You forgot the fan in the chamber.
Just during that stinger, I said, you have one. He goes, I can't read.
I'm blind.
Who are you, Tim Scott?
I'm blind.
All right.
Hold on. What page on?
7+1. I can. You can read off my page.
Here we go.
7+1 tonight. Things the GOP candidates are doing in Florida after the debate.
The separate shit.
Number 7. Even though he wasn't at the debate, I just realized this. Number 7. Mike Pence will be spending some much-needed quality time with Mother on the homestead.
Oh, the fly.
Yeah, good for him. That's a multi-layered joke. I figure this one's a layup because Nick DiPaolo is just he's just filled to the brim with hate.
He did,
7+1 things GOP candidates are doing in Florida after the debate. Number 6.
Chris Christie will be rewarding himself by eating a nice Cuban.
There you go.
Whoa.
Hey, don't do Gay William like that. That's not nice.
That's... Yeah.
Things GOP candidates are doing after the debate. Number 5, Gerald.
Nikki Haley will be raising campaign funds through a new OnlyFans.
A new OnlyFans. Different from her previous OnlyFans.
Exactly.
That one's being shuttered.
It's been played out a little bit. No chatterbait for her.
Number 4, Ron DeSantis will be shopping for new BOGO boots. Yeah, I'll be doing that.
With lifts.
How did this make the cut? All right.
I don't know.
I
sent you some gold. I don't see any of it here.
I'm sorry. This is my fault.
Hey, I'm here for the paycheck.
Things that GOP candidates are doing in Florida after the debate. Number 3.
Vivek Ramaswamy will be updating his application to Mar-a-Lago's tech support.
Oh, that's true.
Mine.
Have you tried unplugging it?
Number 2, Tim Scott will be going back to his grassroots. So that's nice, right there. Oh, well, hey. That seems like there's some big...
Who's that girl,
big
Nikki
turf
Haley?
builder. Number 1, the things that the GOP candidates will be doing after this debate. Gerald Morgan.
Nikki Haley will be demanding to speak to the debate's manager.
Well, yeah, that makes...
Now.
Yeah, she's going to be upset. Is that a John and Kate +8 merged?
A little bit, yeah.
With Nikki Haley? That is... Wow, that looks real.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
And the +1, Chris Christie will be hammocked back to tank number 2 for his 11 p.m. feeding of mackerel. That one's... This has been 7+1.
You
All right, so really quickly here, we talked about this, and Vivek called them out and said, look, he's not going to be running, so we probably need to talk about this. But Newsom is actually losing big support in California right now. He's been trying to kind of increase his profile abroad.
Mm-hmm.
A new poll that came out said he is being humbled right now. So he had an 11-point drop from his approval rating in February. 11 points.
Really?
In California, it's pretty bad. Woof.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, it matters.
If he's still gonna be the guy?
All the polls are fake. People are appointed.
Do you think?
But
do you think?
I'm telling you.
No. Here's the thing. You both think that it won't be Joe Biden.
No,
you
I
both
don't.
think it won't be Joe Biden.
We're both right. My life
But let
on
me
it.
ask you this: if his points have gone down by 11, you're saying 11 points.
11 points.
Do you think they might kind of pull out the contingency plan, and it could be like a Gretchen Whitmer?
No, I don't think anybody.
You're trying to make
like
it look
her.
interesting, folks. That's
You
all.
don't think they'll go maybe Gretchen Whitmer
you
instead
really
of Newsom?
believe?
You really they want a woman?
Even before that, when they did the recall on Newsom, do you really think
that he won?
That he won?
I don't know.
No.
I know that
No, you
someone
do know.
threw a banana pie at Larry Elder, and I thought that was pretty shitty.
Was it banana?
I think it was
That's some
someone was dressed
shit,
up as a
man.
gorilla and threw a pie at Larry Elder. And I'm like, how is this not front page? This is, it checks every box for a hate crime.
They call him the black face of white supremacy.
Yeah, the black face of white supremacy.
I told you he's going to get sworn in behind a Quick Mart as the Grand Dragon.
They're showing Vivek's family. That's pretty okay. That's not, you got a good looking. And by the way, Vivek was here, spent time with him, enjoyed my time with him. He's a very spry guy, Vivek.
Yeah.
Like he's a guy who will live forever.
You need that energy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, you need that energy to be a good. Look at
You know what? It's interesting to always have him on screen with Tim Scott to see who's actually darker. But it just depends on the season. Let's see what they're saying here at NBC, and maybe if someone can bring to us if there have been any type of meltdowns. I don't think tonight was enough of a bombshell evening for MSNBC or CNN to lose their minds.
Yeah,
Tim Scott got a white wife.
Their criticisms of Donald Trump in praise of his presidency because they're trying to give a permission structure to
Wayne
his
Gretzky
voters to say, yes, I liked him then, or I liked elements of what he did then, even if he's not the candidate for me now. And that's based in sort of a factual basis based on some of our own polling, which has found that attacking Donald Trump directly can make a candidate less
This guy's holding the microphone any direction but his face.
Talking out of your nipples?
If I were to be him right now, I'd be like, hey guys, the debate tonight was, get that away from me, make it further. I think
yeah, what's he doing?
He's being an idiot.
It's like it's like a boom and a porn.
Go through
He's got a
Donald
lapel
Trump's
mic too, so it's all just a visual aid.
that, I think all of them are making similar calculations about trying to be the last person standing
Look,
or
Tim
hoping
Scott's on. Go ahead,
someone
touch
else
it.
will do the dirty work for them. And if we end this election cycle, if we end this primary cycle with Donald Trump once again as the Republican nominee, I think debates like this one, huge stages with lots of eyeballs on them, and these candidates
primary cycle with Donald Trump as a candidate. What do you mean if?
Contrast with the front runner who's been squashing them in state and national polls is going to be part of the reason why we could end up in that same place like we saw in 2015 into 2016.
Okay, can I say something?
Yeah. Yes, you may.
We all seem to be, including the media and everybody, assumes that Trump is not going to be in jail, or
he's not going to be in jail.
I very much doubt they could make that happen before the election. It could, but I don't think they will.
You want to start. We've talked about this. You want to set off the revolution. You want to light the match.
I don't believe it. White people too fat and lazy. It should have started after the last election.
Well, no.
I'm telling you, man.
I understand, but too many promises were made about how quickly we were going to get to the bottom of all this that didn't come true, and people were like, well, I don't know who I can believe right now. But if you throw Donald Trump in jail and keep him from being the nominee, all bets are off.
It takes away.
I'm not calling for it.
It does take away their leg
to
to stand on saying he wants to jail political opponents if they do it, and that's something that they really need to use for fear mongering. So I think they just want to flick the jab out there to make it too expensive to just have enough anchors around his neck, and that's what they want to do. I don't think they really want him in jail, but they might. It depends how close we get to the election if they're out for blood.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
Boy, it's quite a bluff.
No, I think he's the guy. I think right now, like after seeing this debate, I think Vivek got some of his swagger back. He came out fighting. He called balls and strikes on a lot of stuff that I liked.
Hold on a second. This is the worst hairpiece I've ever seen in my life.
And then it just fell flat and went away.
It's like a
There were some
Ken doll.
moments tonight where people had some zingers for each other.
He makes Frank Luntz's wig look like it's designer.
Frank's got a wig. Why?
All right, sorry. Continue, Gerald. I was distracted.
No, but I think what should happen right now is Ron DeSantis should bow out of this campaign. He should pause his campaign because if Donald Trump, for some reason, can't run, if they succeed in kind of putting him in jail or something else, he can always pick his campaign right back up. He can pause his campaign right now, put his Trump behind Donald Trump, or support behind Donald Trump, go back to being a great governor for a little while longer, and then be the guy in 4 years. That's what he should do, but he won't right now. They're going to keep running. We're going to have one more debate. And our issue right now is the guy.
Do we have to cover the next debate? And by the way, just so you guys
Maybe
know,
not.
people are obviously, they have debate fatigue because we have been tonight blowing away the actual GOP debate numbers.
Yeah.
And they're lower than any debate we've covered because the truth is there's not that much more to cover. This is really more an exercise. This is mental masturbation for these candidates left. It's an ego trip. Look, we're at the point where we should be able to make a decision. I understand it. We have different ideas. We want to narrow the field. We go through the process. But at a certain point, there is a finite amount of money. And I just want to know who is giving their money to Chris Christie.
That's exactly
Democrats.
right.
I would vote for
Democrats, I'm not
anyone
kidding.
on that stage not named Chris Christie. Maybe Nikki Haley. I don't trust her. I don't dislike her, but I don't trust her. I would not vote for. I wouldn't vote for Chris Christie. If it's Chris Christie, I wouldn't vote. I'm just going to say that. People say, "Oh, Stephen." No, if it's Chris Christie, I wouldn't vote. Come on, you guys can comment.
worse.
Are you in that same camp? Anyone on there, I would vote for. Not Chris Christie. I would like it to be obviously Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, maybe Vivek. I think he might be better in some kind of a cabinet position.
I agree. I mean, he's still, honestly, he's my favorite candidate of the group. Only because, again, I think Ron DeSantis could be a phenomenal presidential candidate if he has some more seasoning. I don't know what happened, but he's not.
I don't understand what you guys think he's doing so wrong. This is why I don't.
DeSantis?
Yes.
He's
in the
come off
campaign.
incredibly robotic, incredibly kind of the normal candidacy that
More robotic than a Nikki Haley, a Chris Christie, who just put
but
left wing talking.
But the expectations were much higher for DeSantis. Remember, everyone thought it was going to be
I know,
DeSantis.
but it seems like it's been a. It's been, the media has sort of done a number on him.
That's true.
I don't understand why he's so far down the look.
I don't think he's that far down.
No, I don't think.
I read something. He's like 7.
Yeah, he's not doing very well, but he has the wrong handlers. What happens with a lot of.
But what do you want him to do differently? Is what I'm saying. When he's on during this debate.
You know what? These guys need to speak.
He is.
Do what Donald Trump does, and every now and then throw the leash off and just be yourself. Let your freak flag fly.
That's who he is.
No, but he didn't come out that way, Nick. That the problem was he launched his campaign and he went right towards the Romney style of campaigns. He went right towards the old kind of
not in policy, but in presentation.
In presentation and how he presented himself and how he aligned himself and what he did and what he said. And
That's the problem,
The
though.
fire burner. This guy that would go out and just spit fire at the media and have a phenomenal record did not come out of the gate swinging. And I'm like, oh, he's going towards the middle. He's going to be controlled by the RNC. He's going to be controlled by these agencies again. And I don't want that in my nominee. Donald Trump's not. Vivek's not.
But you guys you're basing it on previous president. You're saying his presentation stinks. It should. You want him to be. You're asking for the same shit. You want him to present himself like every.
I think that people should present themselves less presidentially, as far as in other words, Donald Trump proved that people want someone who, you can be professional, but you also have to show a little more passion.
What could he? I mean, what could he say anymore? I don't find him as reserved as you guys are saying.
Half the stuff you said tonight. I'd like to see if it's like a little bit of Nick DiPaolo, like, you whore.
Here's a good example.
I would vote for him.
I know, right? Here's a good example. Vivek, last debate versus this debate. Last debate, he's like, and I agree with all my friends on this stage.
I'm not talking about Vivek.
I know, but I'm giving you the comparison.
Right.
This debate, he came out throwing punches. When Ron DeSantis throws punches, that's the Ron that we like.
Give me an example of him throwing punches that he didn't throw tonight.
He threw more tonight than he has in the past, but that's the whole problem. He launched his campaign in a way that really turned people off.
People put too much weight on presentation. I put weight on content.
Now,
I like what he's saying. I like his ideas.
We're just answering.
Fuck presentation. This isn't show business.
No, we're just answering your question as far as why he's falling in the polls.
I know, but
I know, and I'm trying to break the.
I think he would be a good president.
The
I think
establishment influence is what we're pushing back against.
Yes, that's
not
true.
Just presentation. It's not like I'm looking like, oh, can this guy act? That's not the point.
No.
The point is, why did he get there? It's because he didn't have the experience, the balls, or whatever. I don't think it's the balls. I think it's the experience to stand up to these guys and go, that's not who I am. I'm going to be me, and if people don't like me, I'll go back to being the governor where they do like me.
He was talking about what he did with COVID and all that stuff in the first debate.
Well, okay, let me
Everything
give
he
you a
said-
clear example. For example, when he would be doing these press conferences in Florida, he would say, remember the famous one, he said, no, you misrepresented me. I disabused you of that notion, and I'm going to go answer another question. He could do that when he
was
called.
in command.
Yeah, he was in command. He just seems to be
Okay,
going
but
along to
that's-
not upset the
you're
apple cart.
comparing him by himself at a
That's what
press
I'm saying,
conference
but
with
what I'm
five
saying
other.
is people wanted Ron DeSantis, who we all covered and we saw at the press conferences, to come out in a national campaign, and we're left wanting.
Yes.
I think is what we're saying a little bit. But I like him, and I would vote for him in a heartbeat.
Me
I think
too.
he's one of the best governors.
Absolutely.
I'm just trying to sort of reverse engineer why. And you know what? You guys can comment below. Hit the like button if you're on YouTube. You know, most of you are on Rumble, which is great. But comment and let us, why do you think he's been slipping in the polls? Maybe we are missing
Here's the
something.
best thing Trump's got going. He can say, I didn't even know what I was doing. I was a novice, and I was a great president. Now I know what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm waiting for him to jump on that line. You know.
No, I think you're all right. Do we have?
We have Alex, I believe. So let's see. I'm curious to see what he.
Let's bring
he's
up
gotten
for
his
a post debate
It's
wrap
scary.
up.
I
Alex-
thought Vivek won, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, let's call. Who do you think?
Absolutely, Vivek.
Vivek?
There was no
Vivek.
question.
I thought he was tremendous.
Probably Vivek. I do think DeSantis actually had a pretty good night.
Better than he's had in
Better than he's had in the past. But
Those two.
tonight, probably Vivek, if you're going to go by the audience response. But let's start this with Alex Jones, and we'll continue on Mug Club post debate wrap up. Mr. Jones, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I've been watching for several hours. This is even better than your last coverage, and that's why you've got bigger numbers than the actual debate had. And that's really the big story here, is that independent, real media is more popular than the dinosaur media. And then there's just so many angles here, so many points. And it's not just that Vivek's come on your show and come on my show that I'm saying he won the debate. I think anybody watching this, hands down, saw that all the candidates, including DeSantis, were just very, very stale. I mean, I don't hate DeSantis. I like a lot of things DeSantis has done. I don't like the whole Trump-DeSantis fight, but Nikki Haley looked like she was on Adderall. Scott was just a bunch of canned garbage. Of course, Chris Christie is just a Democrat machine talking point. Vivek really gave a lot of depth and understanding to things. And the way he called out, that was the mic drop moment, as you guys said, when he called out Biden and said, this guy's a puppet of the administrative deep state. We're going to abolish the deep state. That was beautiful. A lot of the other things he said were really important. We have over 100,000 people a year dying of fentanyl. It's only growing. And it's true. Back in the 80s, a few people got killed. It was like 7 or 8. When people poisoned Tylenol, they called it poisoning the Tylenol.
Yeah.
And if somebody killed 112,000 or whatever it was last year with fentanyl, that's just where it was actually diagnosed. It's probably much higher. We all know people that have died of fentanyl or friends that have family that's died. They smoke a vape. It's got in, or they think they're taking ecstasy. It kills them. Or it's in marijuana. Or kids are playing at the playground and get it on their hands and die. And so imagine if one person had fentanyl stuck in a Big Mac, it'd be a national news story because it's poisoning and it is a chemical attack. He called it a bio attack. No, fentanyl is a chemical that biologically can kill humans and is incredibly strong. And so, yes, this is a bio attack, but because the globalists and the left wants open borders, because they want to depopulate us, they're allowing it all to happen. And that's the other big takeaway here is that and of course DeSantis made this point, I believe it was DeSantis, the life expectancy of the United States is dropping straight down. It's not just fentanyl. It's come out, it's the COVID shots, it's in the insurance company actuaries. So Vivek didn't just win this. He was the only person that really said anything that was not a canned talking point from the political donors. So
considering the polls of Donald Trump in the swing states, do you still maintain that it absolutely, and this is what Vivek said tonight, which should be shocking to a lot of people in the media because the mainstream media has never even acknowledged this really as a possibility, that do you still maintain, Alex Jones, that Biden will not be the nominee this election?
I 100% agree with you and the rest of your great pundits there, but it's two different worlds. If Biden has his way, and he's trying to not be a puppet, even though he is one that has to take naps every day. They've got him on all these drugs. I've talked to some of the Secret Service. It's unbelievable. He believes he's the president, even though it's now even come out on NBC News that what we were told years ago is true. Obama has his own White House down the road and is literally enjoying his third unelected term.
Well, to be clear, he may have a house that's white, but yes, your point remains.
Well, I mean, the point is it's now confirmed that the entire administrative state around Obama, this is the third term of these guys, and his vice president is in there as a placeholder. And Obama bragged that's what he wanted when he left office. So here we are. And so Biden's refusing to leave. You've got Axelrod and all the rest of the top Democrats on TV over the weekend saying he must leave, he must go. They've already finally indicted his son, Hunter, the crackhead. That is a message to him. And so if he's able to hold on and not have a stroke or die in the next few months, or if they don't assassinate him and blame it on a right-winger, which I've been saying is in the cards, then yes, he's crazy enough to actually assert himself with his wife, Jill, who reportedly is encouraging him not to leave, so that he can still pretend to be the president. And I guess in some weird way, if he can beat the deep state who gives him his orders, but still refuse that order and stay in power, which is what always happens with tyrannies, they start infighting, then yes, they're crazy enough, Biden's crazy enough, and his little group around him to actually put him in office again. So I would give it I'd go from about a 95% chance that he wouldn't be the nominee to about a 65, 70%. But yes, I don't know if they've got the balls to actually set up a truck bomb or a shooting